Hello! How are we all doing? Hopefully you can hear me. Whoa, it's getting busy in the chat. Hello to each and every one of you. Now I'm waiting for thumbs up from the wingman here. He's concentrating very hard. But I know Jammy's in. After a little bit of an incident last night, wasn't there? When you thought it was Friday and you were late. Tut, tut, tut. Made up for it, because you're first in tonight. Right, apparently you can hear me, which is marvellous. So hello, Jammy. Oh, and Jammy's other half, obviously, honourable mention. Hello, Renee. Hello, Deb. Who else have we got?
Jonathan says he lost an AirPod Pro.
Oh!
Managed to find it using the app, but some person had put it in the bin and he had to rummage through Manchester's waste to get it back.
Oh, no!
But it still works.
That's worse than you when you lost your AirTag. Oh, that's another tale entirely. Right, Renee, Paul, who else have we got? Patience, hello, and Jonathan. You wouldn't want to use it, would you? Did it wash well? Let us know. Let us know. My keyboard did well when it went through the shower.
It still works after a good clean.
You would need a good clean. Oh, dear. No, you see, that's not going to happen to me because I never take them outside. But I remember it being quite a concern at the beginning. You're quite right. So who else have we got here that I've missed? If I've missed you, shout at me. Hello, Carol. Hello, Pandemonium. And Mrs. Yarnold is in the house. If I've missed you, shout at me. There you go. Ah, we've got an extra day this week. So the week at MacBites headquarters is the week plus a day. And it's the first day of Ship 30, so it's a busy old day here. So let's get on with it, see how everything's working, if it is. Right, can we see the running order at all? No, we can't. That's because I've not got the right thing shared. So let's sort that out for the start.
Jamie wants to know, how did your keyboard go in the shower?
Oh, yes. That was in the days when I used to drink tea with milk and sugar. You can imagine that this would not end well. And the tea went all over the keyboard. The keyboard was a MacOS Pro, which is like an old style clickety-clackety thing. So it landed on it, bad words were said, very bad words were said, and I picked it up, ran into the bathroom with it and shoved it under a cold shower straight away before it could do any damage. Well, before the tea could do any damage. The water I was hoping would be something that would fix it. Silly me. So I thoroughly washed it. Actually, it came up rather well, to be honest. And then left it on towels for a few days to dry. I rang the company I'd bought it from and I thought, it's fine, I'll just buy another one. Apart from the fact they were like £130. But, it's my fault. I spilt the tea. And they said, we have to import those from America and we haven't got any. And I was horror struck. I must have had them on the phone for 20 minutes asking exactly the same question in 57 different ways. And the answer was still, no, we haven't got any. So that was bad news. So I had to use an Apple one for a couple of days. And then eventually I thought, this must have dried out. Let's drag it out and see if it's working. And it was. So, it was working better after that. All the detritus that you get, that it accumulates under the keyboard, totally gone. And the keyboards and the keys themselves, absolutely sparkling. So, I talked about that in one of my Ship 30 essays last time, I think. What happened when my keyboard met the shower. And it was the one that the most resonated with people, you might know. Anyway, what have we got? We've got the week at MacBites headquarters, rare old week. Unusual for me. I've been up to something that I very seldom do, so I thought I'd share that. Then we have exciting news from Vivaldi. I am excited for this for a good reason. I've been having a nightmare with my macOS thumbnails. Maybe you are too. I think I've got a fix, and I'm going to attempt it live. This could be disastrous, but we'll do it anyway. Backlinks have arrived in Evernote. I will show you what they are, how to work them, and why they're useless. But we won't put any spoilers in. It's a bit Mike-ish, that, isn't it? Put a spoiler in that early. But you might enjoy them more than I am. I have a freebie which is really useful. It's a really nice freebie. You get to decide precisely the freebie you get. You can't say fairer than that. And then I've got half a dozen habit trackers in Notion to share with you. Who's kept to their New Year's resolutions? I didn't make any.
I didn't make any.
No, so I found it quite easy, to be honest.
Yeah, best way.
Right, Mike's going to keep me up to date with the chat, aren't you? Because I can barely see it here.
Yes, Rene says he still hasn't got an answer to his eagle question.
Well, is this the question you shared with me about
Yes.
10 minutes ago? Yes, right. There was an answer to that, Renee, and if you had watched the designer video, you would have known the answer. Mike, make a note, and I'll shove it in at some point.
Right.
Okay, so let's move along. Let's move along. We are broadcasting in HD. That does not mean you will be watching in HD. It all depends what mood YouTube's in. So check the cog, lower right-hand corner. While you're down there, there's a like button. We like the like button. Make my day, because do you know my Ship 30 post hasn't got that many likes? I think it's got one. And I think that was Ship 30 that liked it, which was very kind of them.
I never go on Twitter.
Well, you need to be on. Well, I mean, you can do it on LinkedIn if you like, but, you know, seeing as though it's in 3 places, if you could do it in all 3, that would be jolly nice. Right. Okay, so after the last show, which was the eve of New Year's Eve, we had Saturday, and there was a match. You weren't actually that hopeful, were you not? But it was quite without incident, and United just won. So it was a peaceful, quiet New Year's Eve for us. However, at midnight, it all kicked off, didn't it? There was some amazing fireworks. I was outside and I managed to capture my watch at bang on midnight. Look at that. And we had some amazing fireworks that thankfully the neighbours were paying for. So I had enjoyed a rather spectacular fireworks evening with no expense whatsoever. There were some others the other way, but they were a bit... They weren't as spectacular as that. But that's me outside our front door at midnight. Because we did the research, didn't we, on who should first foot.
Yeah.
And it was all a bit of a disaster. Our best bet was Lola. It said it shouldn't be a red-headed man. And Mike, you were red-headed in your youth, but it's kind of brown now.
Grey.
With touches of grey. So it definitely shouldn't have been Mike. Shouldn't have been a woman either. So short of paying somebody, though hence I was outside. So it was a happy 2023 for all. The 1st of January was when Ship 30 started. Not posting, we were onboarding. So from last Saturday, I've been pondering what I should write, basically. Now, the bit that's most unusual for me is we do have a TV. It was my mother's. I don't think it's been turned on since she died. So we don't watch much TV. I would say except for Line of Duty these days, and you don't watch that. So it's unusual if we watch TV. However, a good few years ago, we did watch Happy Valley. Absolutely stunning drama. The thing is, I think it was 2014 and 2015 or something like that. It was a long time ago. And I thought, new series coming. I need to watch it. So I decided to binge watch both series. 12 hours later. It took me about 20 minutes to get you up to speed.
True.
It was exceptional. And that was my biggest binge watch ever, I think. I think I watched it in 2 chunks of 6 hours each. But I hadn't finished it by the time the new series started on Sunday night, which meant it was Monday. Luckily, Monday, despite it being the 2nd of January, everything was closed. It was a bank holiday here, which is our name for a national holiday, which meant we could catch up with episode 1 of series 3. Let me know in the chat, have you been watching? No spoilers, no spoilers. It's just stunning. It is so good. They did manage, didn't they, Tesco, to avoid clashing with our watching.
They did.
They did manage to wait until we'd watch it, and they surpassed themselves. No, don't get excited. It wasn't the letter spotted Yule log. It was just what we'd ordered, so that was better than usual, wasn't it? Or was there any dodgy substitutions?
I think there was, but I can't remember what it was.
It clearly wasn't that important then, was it? Something that you could cope with, rather than something that was ludicrous.
It was the small jars of piccalilli, that's what it was.
I wanted a large jar of piccalilli, and they sent a small one. But, you know, that's not bad. It could have been worse. They could have sent English mustard or something.
True.
Yeah, so we then went into Tuesday. It's been a busy old week on the footy front, hasn't it? There was another match. I'm going to put Mike on the spot and say, when was the last time this happened? This game was not on the TV. Now, I don't just mean it wasn't on the free-to-air TV. It wasn't on Now TV. It wasn't on Sky. It wasn't on BT's TV. It wasn't on Amazon Prime. We were relegated to, as they say in Yorkshire, twireless. We literally had to listen to it on the radio. I can't remember the last time that happened.
At some point last season.
No, surely not.
Yeah.
I remember listening to Twilus when, if it was dark, you didn't get a great signal and it faded in and out. So, TalkSport it was. But it was all worthwhile because they won. This is getting quite repetitive, isn't it? I know it was only Bournemouth, but still, they won, which was good news. I don't enjoy the beginning of the year. And Wednesday, I had to suck it up. And I had to accept I needed to do my end of year stuff. Oh, it was horrible, but I got it done. It was all done and out the door, which meant on Thursday, channeling. You didn't have one though, did you? I did. I was channeling my inner Happy Valley. If you've never seen it, this won't mean a thing to you, but it's a delicacy in the UK. A fish finger butty for lunch. If you've never had one, you've never lived. And yes, it was gluten-free bread. It was delicious. Which took me to Friday. This was overnight Thursday to Friday. Midnight, Friday morning, I'm sat there poised, yet again, waiting for TV. This is so unlike me. But Amazon Prime had promised a new drama with Martin Compston from Line of Duty. It's called The Rig, and they were dropping the entire box set. Having watched all of it, still no spoilers, it's great if you are a fan of John Wyndham or Michael Crichton. If you're hoping for Line of Duty level drama, might not be for you. So I did watch it all, and a series 2 would be good, but that was as far as it went. It wasn't Line of Duty. So fingers crossed they do bring Line of Duty back. But once I'd recovered from that, I did manage a couple of hours sleep before it was time for more football. This time, the first round proper, or the third round as we call it, of the FA Cup. The FA Cup's quite a romantic thing, isn't it? With all the little minnow clubs. They play in the first and second rounds, and then the big boys join in the third round. I think at this stage, United had been on a bit of a roll, and we were quite confident, weren't we?
Yeah.
Until they read the team sheet out, and we discovered we'd got Mr. Magoo in goal. Seriously, if you have not seen it, take a look at the video, if only for the giggles. Copyright issues mean I can't possibly play the video, but I did get a couple of stills. And I think I will laugh at them forever. It looked no better from behind. Yes, there are no words to describe that. But despite that, they did actually manage to win. I didn't realise it was the same lad that scored the own goal, scored for them. So he cancelled his own goal out, really. But never mind, they still won. That means they're off into the fourth round, doesn't it? Which is draw on the 10th?
Tomorrow.
Oh, tomorrow it's drawn. They're played on the 10th. So fingers crossed, because there's been quite a few giant killings, hasn't there?
There has today.
Yes, so we've got some really small clubs left in it who would love to be drawn at Old Trafford to play United because it would be worth an absolute fortune to them. So that takes me on to today, the extra day at the week at MacBites headquarters, which was Ship 30 Day. Yes, I'm in the January cohort. This is my 6th, and I have posted. Luckily, day 1 is done. It's dusted. I've just got to get my badge for today and then I'm sorted. Mike will put the link in for mine. It was short, sweet and to the point. But it's all to do with Affinity Publisher. So hopefully you won't want to miss it and hopefully you'll put a big like on it every day. I am not the only one partaking. No, Carol is partaking as well. So congratulations, Carol. First cohort, first post. So go stick a like on Carol's as well. Right, so that's where we're up to. And in the midst of all that, I've managed to put tonight together as well. I know, I surpass myself at times. I really do. Okay, so first good news of the year. Absolutely brilliant news, this. This was news from Vivaldi. They sent a mail out, which was basically a review of what they did last year, which was all very well, yawn, using all of that. Never mind, move on. When I spotted a paragraph. Looking ahead into 2023, we feel a strong responsibility to be a force for good. One way we'll achieve this is continuing to build a better browser that doesn't track or profile your movements around the web. And yes, quote, this includes our long-awaited debut on iOS. It is coming in 2023. Ooh! That's actually more important than it would normally have been for me, because Firefox seemed to have lost the plot. I used to use Firefox on the desktop. It was my default, and when I started using Vivaldi, it was as well as not instead of. I used to use it as a Notion host, so I could have multiple Notion pages open in a single browser. I had wired up my Browser Ninja app that every time I clicked on a link that was Notion, it would open Vivaldi. And then I decided Vivaldi just had so many features I was going to move to it wholesale, which I did. But with no version for iOS, I was still using Firefox on iOS. When I say they've lost the plot, if I see one more advert, and it's not an advert for something else, it's an advert for something that they're wanting you to do, either take up their VPN service, which I believe is a paid for thing, or set your preferences. But they prompt you to set your preferences every 2 seconds. When there's an update, they also log you out of your default homepage, which in my case is speed dial. So I'm constantly seeing this, set this up, do this, do that. Do you want a VPN? No, I don't. I just want leaving alone. I'm opening a browser because I want to go somewhere and do something. And being a lady of a certain age, by the time I've got through all your prompts, I've totally forgotten what it was I was doing. So if you can just leave me be, I'd be happy. So I can't wait. Let me know what browser you use. Right. Oh, Mrs. Yarnell still loves Firefox. Firefox just annoys me with these prompts. Otherwise, it would be absolutely fine. I would have no problems with it at all. But the prompts are doing my head in. Right. macOS thumbnail nightmare. This could well have happened to you. You may have ignored it. I did. Until I couldn't anymore. So I'm talking about thumbnails that represent the file on macOS. It could be in the Finder, it could be in different places, but mainly the Finder is the big one that's the problem. So what it should look like if you turn on that particular view, so the grid view with images, is that's what it should look like. I first notice the problem. Whenever this happens, I notice it when I put something on the desktop and it doesn't give me a preview. It just sits there with a default icon. If I open up the window, that's what I see. So if I were to press the spacebar, I would see a preview. But if I don't, that's what I see. So let me know in the chat, has this happened to you? So the plan is, we're going to see it live, prove it's actually happening, show you some knock-on effects of it happening. So you might think, oh, it doesn't matter. You know, I don't know what that is. But it does. There is a knock-on effect, which you would not realise. If you reboot, it may cure itself. So I worked on the principle, if it cures itself when I reboot, then surely there's something I can do to restart this thing if I don't want to reboot. So that's where we're at. So let's see the thing for real. Hopefully. I've got 3,000 windows open tonight with lots of different things to show. But that one there is the one with the problem. So let's start with that. If I were to click on these and use the spacebar, the preview is fine. So it's not that the image is damaged in any kind of way. All of these images are absolutely fine. It's just that I don't get a preview of them. If I were to change the view, so if I change the view to this view, you would tend not to get a preview anyway. You've also got this thumbnail track type view here. You can see the preview here because it's a proper preview, but along the bottom you don't get any indication of what the image actually is. So that's my big problem. So I will move this down a bit. We will drag one of these images. Let's have the coin image, and I'll do it as a copy and copy that onto the desktop. And you can see I've got exactly the same problem on the desktop.
Patience said she noticed it the other day.
It's something that's been happening to me frequently. It can be all right for a week, and then all of a sudden, and there's no warning, no notification, absolutely nothing. It just does that to you. Now, if that's all it was doing, then that would be fine, I guess. Mildly annoying is what we'd say. Mildly annoying. But there can be a knock-on effect. So the first thing I'm going to do here is open this image, and I'm going to create... Shall I create two? I'll create two because I can. So I'll do a file save on this, or I will do if it lets me. Go on, you know you want to. Right, file save as, and I will stick it on the desktop, and I'll make this one a PDF. So we'll save that. So we've got PDF. I should get a preview of that, but I'm not. You can see the icon I've got for that is Adobe Acrobat. You may have PDF Export or whatever you use instead. The other file format I'm going to create is to do a save as, and save it as a TIFF, which is a high quality bitmap format. And stick that on the desktop. Okay, there's my 3 files. Right, so I've got the same problem with all of them. It is not an issue with a particular file format. It is an issue at system level. There's something wrong with it at system level. Now, at this stage, I'm still outlining the problem here because I'm going to go into Eagle. So this is my demo database in Eagle. They've just shrunk down. But what I'm going to do is, this top one was a JPEG. So I'll drag and drop the JPEG in here. And let's make that a bit bigger so we can see it. Come on, you know you want to. Or don't you? Go on. We're in that mood, are we? I'll sort you out in a minute. We'll have a look at it in a minute. I did actually want the JPEG in there, though, so we can see if it's working or not. Right, that one, we can see what it is. We might have to jiggle this around a bit, but you can see what it is. Right. I've then got a PDF, so I'm going to drag the PDF in, and I'm going to drag the TIFF in. So I've got all 3 versions of this, and the file is the same file. You can see for the TIFF, I've got what I call the salt and pepper shaker. It's not, it's a loop, but it looks like a salt and pepper shaker. And for the PDF one, I have got the PDF icon. I should not be seeing this. What should happen is it should give me a preview. Now, you have the ability in here, if you changed one of these files outside of this, you can right click, you can go to more, and you can choose either to select a custom thumbnail from the clipboard or from a file, or you can refresh the thumbnail if you've made changes to it. So I thought, well, I'll refresh the thumbnail. That did nothing. I can set it to a JPEG, and that's what I was doing because I thought, oh, Eagle's broken. It's not Eagle that's broken. The root cause of all of this, the fact that I can't see it on the desktop, I can't see it in the Finder, it isn't working well with Eagle, is all the same problem. So those are the problems that I am actually having with that. So I'm looking for a fix to fix that. So let's get that out of the way. We'll do it again when we've tried to get this to work. So this is a bit that could go painfully wrong doing it live with all the stuff that's running on the machine. But I am going to open the activity monitor. This is what you need to do. Right. In the activity monitor, which shows you every process that is running, if you do a search in the top right for thumbnail, you should see in here that you have this com.apple quick look thumbnail, and you've got these others as well. Now, the book one, I don't think that's anything to do with it. I think it's this one here that's the problem. Fingers crossed it is. The thumbnail agent. So what I did with that was I force quit it. So you can quit a process or you can force quit a process. And I decided to force quit the process. So that is gone, dealt with. That will automatically start itself when I restart the Finder. So you have available up here the option to force quit. I have a shortcut for it, which is this down here. Now, what I'm doing this time is I'm not force quitting an app. As you can see, I've got enough running. I'm going to relaunch the Finder because nothing's happened to my thumbnails up here yet. But I've quit the thumbnail process that is technically the one causing the problem. Fingers crossed this demo works. I'm going to relaunch the Finder, which in turn should have a knock-on effect with the thumbnails. Fingers crossed. If it doesn't, I'm taking no responsibility whatsoever for it. I'll just blame Apple. Right, you're back, are you? That you might be. Oh, he's still thinking about it. Right, and look what happened. All my thumbnails came back. Right. So now we need to test it. So it's working on the desktop. I have my Finder thing somewhere. Was it you? No, it wasn't you, was it? No, it wasn't. There was another one. Where have I put you? There it is, thumbnails. Let's bring it back in. There are my thumbnails in my thumbnails folder, which happens to be on Evernote in Dropbox, but you can see I can now see them. So it worked for that as well. And the ones that are on the desktop, let's go back to Eagle. What happened in Eagle? Absolutely nothing. Because Eagle read these in at the point that I imported them. But now there is a thumbnail inside the file. I should technically be able to go into here and go to More and refresh the thumbnail. And it reads in the PDF version. I have the TIFF at the top, same with that. More and refresh the thumbnail. And it will read the thumbnail in that has now been generated inside the file. So there's me thinking that Eagle was broken, and it wasn't. No, it was macOS that was broken, and this is happening to me constantly. So if it happens to you and it's not convenient to reboot, so like usually for me that's like I'm going to do a demonstration and it's 2 minutes away and now the thumbnails aren't working. I can quickly do that, and once you get used to doing it 15 times a week, it takes seconds and it solves the problem. You do have to go into Eagle and regenerate them, but you can regenerate them as a batch. The other thing is, if in here I get rid of this TIFF, so I'm going to get rid of that, get rid of the PDF, so I've only got the JPEG left, and I pull them in again from the desktop. So let's drag that one in. That's the PDF. Because the thumbnail is inside the file now, Eagle is working correctly. Eagle would have been working correctly before if it could find the thumbnail. So it's not Eagle's fault, it's the fact that there is something wrong at system level that means that the thumbnail is not there for Eagle to read. That is the issue. Oh, Carol's ahead of me. She's scheduled for tomorrow for ship 30. I've not even written it yet, Carol. But I have planned out about 15 or 20 of them, so I'm actually ahead of myself. Right, Renee had a question, didn't he? And because he was very naughty and he didn't pay any attention whatsoever in the designer one, he wants it fixing here.
He does say it was a general remark, not to you specifically.
Yes, but the answer was there. It was there because the same thing happened to me. So Renee's problem, which is an entirely different problem and something that is genuinely not working in Eagle at the moment, is, how should we demonstrate that effectively? Right, I need to go and get a file. I think in Renee's case it was photo, but it doesn't really matter. Any of the apps, it would be doing the same thing. So what I'm going to do is I am going to go to Dropbox. I am going to go to Application Support and find an Affinity file. Right, so I've got some files here, including a brand new one. Literally, look at that, finished 9 minutes before the show. So I will take that and I will put that in there. Right, so it's sitting on the desktop quite happily. Now you can see it's got a thumbnail. Wonders will never cease, because I've literally just finished that issue. Right, so I think what Renee is doing is adding this into Eagle. So the file is inside Eagle. Now, you're not going to believe this, Mike, that's actually generated a thumbnail, which it wasn't doing before. It was, and then it wasn't, and then we figured it was because it was version 2, but never mind. There it is, replete with thumbnail, which it wouldn't have a thumbnail, but for the fact we fixed the thumbnail problem. Right, Renee's problem with this is, if you were to right-click this and you actually want to open it, so how are we doing this? Open with default app. Right, so click that. And where it should be opening, because it's an Affinity Publisher file, is in Affinity Publisher 2. And you can see that that's exactly what's happening here. The same principle that I'm going to explain here is applicable to Photo and to Designer. The reason that that is opening up in Affinity Publisher 2, the correct version, not Affinity Publisher 1, which would generate an error, is this. So let's quit that and show you. If you bring up, and this is for macOS. If it's not macOS, it's a different solution. But if you bring up the info for that, so Command and I, you can see that it has under the open with what it will open with. Now, Affinity Publisher and Affinity Photo updated that from version 1 to version 2. Designer did not. So if in here that was set to open with publisher, this one, and I changed them all so they're going to open with that, if I were to double click this, it would generate an error. It would try and open it with version 1, and then it would say this file was created with a newer version, and you can't do that, is what it's going to tell me eventually when it has a think about it. It's pondering, it's pondering. Go on, let's see the message. There we go. You can't open the document. So you're annoyed at this point. Bad words are being said because you didn't want to do that anyway. If you right-clicked on this, you do have open with, and you could choose version 2, and it would open properly. But it doesn't give you that option in here. When you right-click on here, you've got default app, and that's it. So it's nothing to do with fixing it in Eagle. You need to fix it at system level in here. On any file that's opening with the wrong application from Eagle, go into the info panel of it, and with the open with, choose what you want, which is Affinity Publisher 2, and do change all. And then when you open it in Eagle, it will open with the correct app. If you want the longer version of that, it was in the designer thing. So does that fix your problem? Okay, so we've solved that. We've actually solved that. So it's working on the desktop in the, you can see it. It's working in the Finder window, and it's solved the problem in Eagle. And in Eagle, you're doing it one of two ways. You're either regenerating the thumbnail, which will regenerate it, or you can delete the stuff and re-import it, and that way it will just read the thumbnail in as you bring it in. It's so annoying. I mean, when I first started with the Mac, I think you could turn that on and off, but it is actually so useful. It would be bad enough if it was broken at system level, but Eagle was still working. But given the fact that Eagle wasn't working, it was like, oh, this is now a real problem. Because I brought in a load of things in PDF format and TIFF format, and it didn't generate a thumbnail. So I was manually applying a thumbnail, assuming it was Eagle, and it wasn't. But that is the fix to it. So who had that problem, Mike? Or was it just me?
No, Patience had it, I think. I think it was Patience.
I'm seeing lots of likes on Carol's post. I'm hoping there's lots of likes on my post too.
I put one on your post.
Well, at least, that's doubled it, hasn't it? There you go. I don't think my topic floats the boat of many people on the cruise, as it were. Yeah, do forgive all the metaphors. I don't think it does. I think they want to know about things like productivity and stuff like that. Anyway, let's get on to backlinks in Evernote. That's the kind of thing they want to know about, backlinks in Evernote. Right. Backlinks are something that have been they started to get a lot of traction and a lot of publicity when Rome Research was in the ascendancy. Obsidian came next, followed by Notion. And Notion's backlinks were like an afterthought, to be perfectly honest, and I don't think I've ever used them. But they are something that I use all the time in Obsidian. And I use them all the time in Rome. I mean, in Rome, that was like the magic of it. They have arrived in Evernote. They never officially said they were on the way, but they have arrived. So I came to update, and it updated to 10.51.6 first. And then as soon as I opened it, it said introducing backlinks. So as it says there, you can see which notes link to the one that you're working in. It's easier to connect ideas and keep your information organised. Let me know in the chat, a backlink something you use, and if you do, what app are you in? Because I thought, oh, that's handy. And then I thought, yeah, you're never going to use it though. Because the thing is, they've been there forever. What do you mean you've put backlinks in? I'm thrilled. I was creating backlinks in 2012. I didn't call them backlinks. I called it a mesh of links between notes. Apparently, if I'd have mentioned it at the time, whoa, I could have made a fortune, couldn't I? To me, it was just logical, and I was too busy doing it to spout about doing it and why somebody else might have wanted to do it. But let's have a look at it all. Because true to form, there's more to it than you would imagine. Right, let's have a simple look. Shall we have a look at what I did first? Yeah, let's have a look at what I did first. So let's imagine it's 2012. And this is my live Evernote thing. This is the demo that I've put together. But in here, this was what I was doing with it. I created a master index of my presentations. So what I've got in here, going right back to March 2012. I happen to know March 2012, that iBooks author one, was the one that we put on because we had to cancel one. Mayor was ill, he got diagnosed with arthritis and we had to cancel one. So what I was doing was I've got to throw this together really quickly. So this note is the master index, and each of the green ones in here is a manually made link to another page in Evernote. So in this presentations folder, there's all this kind of stuff, all these notes. And this was how you used to have to use Evernote. It was an absolute pain. I could never find anything. So I built this index page. So if I were to go to one of these, and I think one of these was the very first Affinity thing I did in 2014. There we go, Affinity Designer. That is what the sub-index looks like. So this is the index to just the notes for the Affinity Designer session. There was my running order, there was the event setup, there was all the admin, there was the Q&A, there was anything in the chat, there was who attended, and what the markers were for the video. So if I went into like the running order, you can see I've got all of this information and I delivered the thing from that. At the top, there is a link back. So that's a backlink that's going back to the Affinity Designer note. And at the top of that, there is a link going back to the master index. 2012. I was ahead of my time. So I've deliberately opened that in Evernote Legacy. So you can see that we can pretend it's 2012. And that was what I was doing. That is all a backlink is. It's a link from one page up to another page that's referenced it. Now I say up because to me, the page that's linking back to something is probably going to be a subordinate page to it. So that's what I built there. What they've provided is providing exactly the same functionality in a different way. So if we leave that on one side for a moment and we go into the other version of Evernote, which is this one, it's exactly the same data. So I can show you that there's the master index, exactly the same thing. It just looks fractionally different. But does it still work? Well, what have we got? Where was that Affinity one that we've just had? 2014 it was. Affinity Designer. You can go to that. These are the notes. There's the link to the master index. There's the link to the running order. It still works. So go back up to the index and back up to the master index. But the sharp-eyed amongst you may have noticed that all of these links in here that I have manually added are now showing as backlinks in the top right corner. So up here we have 92 of them listed. I'm not particularly impressed with the fact that the thing isn't wide enough to show me the title because I need index at the beginning and then I'm followed by the date. So then I have to hover so I can see the full name. Why would I use that when I've got this? And the reason that somebody would do that is that they haven't bothered to create the index. But how would that work? You'd have to have these links in here for them to show as backlinks. So you might as well just create it manually. But that's just me. So I kept it really simple in the inbox with 3 notes. So I started off with my backlinks. So these are just called backlinks 1, 2 and 3. And each one is showing what's linked to it. So this one here is linking to the second note. So if I click on there, it goes to note 2. Don't worry about why this is manually created at the moment, but if I click on back to link 1, it goes back to backlink 1. I then muddied the waters and added in page 3, which is backlinking to page 1. So it's exactly the system I created. The difference is you've got this over here that's showing you the backlinks. So this it enables you to navigate as well. So you can go from 1 to 2. You can go from 2 to 1. Come on, you've hidden stuff now. I need to see 3. So let's go to 3. And 3 has a link to 1 in here, but it doesn't have any backlinks showing. Now, is that right that it doesn't have any backlinks showing? Well, if we go in here, we've got a link to note number 2. That one's got a link to note number 1, but this one hasn't got a backlink to it. It's linking to 1, but nothing is linking to it. So we could go into 1 and we could add a link in there. There are 2 ways of doing that. There's the way that they want you to do it, which is from the plus up here. It's a note link, and you can see it says new next to it. So we can add a note link, and you get to choose which one. So in my inbox, I've got these notes. So let's put that link into number 3 and insert. And it's done it automatically. If I now click on 3, it takes me to 3 and we'll have to sit while it ponders. There should now be a backlink, but it's not actually appeared. I've found it doesn't appear straight away. It's something, it seems to take a couple of minutes, but there should be a backlink to it. Okay. That's one way to do it. And eventually the whole thing should hook up and we should get some backlinks. There we go. I've got a backlink now. Back to 1. So 1 is linking to 3. So therefore in 3, I get a backlink to 1. Fabulous, isn't it? Now, that's only one way to do that. I want to show you that that is not necessarily the best way. Let's go into number 3 here, and we'll put a backlink into number 2 and actually see what happens here. If I go in and I make this new link, I can see all of the stacks and I can see all of the notebooks. And I can open these up. And if you've got something like 3 notes in there, it's simple. If you don't know where the note is, you need to search. So you would need to start searching for the note from the top. If it's in one of these stacks and you know where it is, but there's, how many notes have I got? 14,421. It could be a while finding the right note. So that's the first problem with it, as far as I'm concerned. Let's put a link to number 2 in here, though. Now we've got 2 links in it. Right, that's one way to link it. Here's the problem with that. The other day, I was thinking that I was going to do this demonstration to show you these backlinks. And my inbox had more than 3 items in it, I can assure you. I only use Evernote as garbage disposal. No, seriously, it's a filing cabinet. Evernote has the most amazing clipper. So if I want to clip something to work with, I'm likely to send it to Readwise. And from Readwise, I would work with it and I would put my notes in Obsidian. But knowing that the internet is a fragile beast, that article could totally disappear. So I send a copy of it to Evernote and I do not worry about organising it at all. So it just goes into the inbox and every now and then I come in and I move those notes. There was 1,000, was it 3,000? Did I say it was 3,000 notes, wasn't it?
I think so, yeah. Yeah,
because I was contemplating the rest of my life trying to move them. Right, I had 3,000 notes in the inbox. I hadn't cleared it out in a while. But as I say, I would just use the search stuff. So I went into the Evernote that you're looking at now and I did a Command and A and I selected 3,000 notes in my inbox. And I wanted to put them in the archive. Not difficult, drag, drop, done. No, because Evernote 10, up until this week, could only operate on 50 notes at a time. 3,000 was going to take me a long time to shift. This week, they trumpeted that now you can operate on 100 notes. Well, whoopie-doo. It was still going to take me a long time to shift 3,000 notes. So what I do, I've got this version of Evernote and I have the legacy version of Evernote, which was the one we started with. This is an official legacy version of Evernote. It is still supported, but the problem is they're not adding features to this. So if we go to the inbox, you will see that we have the notes that we've got in the other one. We've got this 3 linking to 1 and 2 and so forth. We've also seen the master index, and you've seen the master index works. So if I go from here and I go to whatever it is I'm doing, there's all of this. So we know that this is working and it goes backwards and forwards, and I guarantee you everything is working. So in my inbox, I thought, right, let's try these backlinks then. So we'll go to number 1 and we'll navigate down to the second note and we'll click and click and nothing happens. These links are not supported, but there is nothing to indicate they are any different than any other link. But they don't work. Which is why, in this one, I clicked on this one, which is a link to the first note, and that works. So what was the difference? Well, in this second note, this is going to the first note. Let me show you how I did that. It's a link to note number 3. So I've typed it in. I've actually typed that in. And in note number 3 in here, there's the ... And you can up there, was it there I got it from? Or did I just drag it in? That used to work as well. Let's have a look at that. Let's go to here and let's just drag that in. No, you're dragging it into 3, aren't you? I copied it anyway. I may have copied it in here because it is available in here. Which one was I going to? From the second one to 3. So there's 3. From the ... up here, you get the option to copy an internal link to it. You can have it as an app link, or you can have it as a web link. So if you want this to open in a web browser, you can do that. I never want that. I always want the app link. So back in the legacy version, where I actually typed it in, so where was my note? It was that one, wasn't it? And I want it there. I actually added that as a link to it, which was enter where you want it. I wanted it to go there. Okay, internal link doesn't like that at the minute. I don't know how I actually did it now, but I definitely did it the other day, and it wasn't a web link. But wherever I got the link from, I pasted the link on. Can I right click and add a link to it? That'd be good. Did I do it that way? I have no idea how I did it, but you can see I manually created the link, so I did do it. I swear I did it. And that link is different from the others. So I thought, this is odd. If I was doing this now, I would have the biggest problem with that. Some of the links would work, some of them wouldn't, and I wouldn't know which were which. I would love to be able to get rid of the legacy version of Evernote, but I can't. Because if I need to work with more than 100 notes to move them or update them or basically do anything with them, export them. I mean, Evernote say you can go from Evernote to any other app, you can export them. Yeah, in batches of 100. Who wants to do that? I have done Enex exports, which is Evernote export formats, and it exports all 14,400 and odd of them. The legacy version does, but the new one doesn't. So that is the problem with that. Some of them will work, some of them will not work. If you're only exclusively using this version, you should be all right. Let me see if I can add that to there. No, I don't want to open you. Go away. Can I do it from here? I definitely did it. I know I did. Add a link. Did I do that? Oh, now you're just sitting there doing absolutely nothing. Come on, add a link. Let's add that in and see if it likes that anymore. Right. Well, that's working. Let's see if it's working in the legacy version. Was that how I did it? Oh, that needs to update. So let's wait for the link to appear. And if the link appears within my lifetime, we'll test if it works. But that is the problem with this, particularly if you are relying on the legacy version for the features that haven't made it yet into version 10. And some of those features are critical. I have audio files in here, tiny little audio files, 30 seconds of audio. And it was when I needed to do something to fix a problem in a video. And I would make a tiny clip of the audio and I would put it in there and I would use Evernote when I'm in the studio. And the audio files no longer play. They just don't play. Are you ever going to think about updating? Ah, awesome. So yes, that link works, the other ones don't. So if you manually put a link on something, it'll work. If you automatically put a link on it, it won't. Grand. But that is backlinks in Evernote. So, do we have any questions on that?
We do actually have a question.
I thought we might, because it's tricky, isn't it?
Yeah.
Go on.
The question is from Joe, and Joe says, can you mark more notes in Legacy? Click right and copy links, then paste in new note. You should get a list with internal links.
Right. Copy and paste. Was that in the Legacy version?
Yeah.
Yeah. Can you mark? Right. I used to do that, so let's have a look. So make sure you're guiding me here, Mike, from the legacy version, which has just disappeared. Where have you gone? Right, I've got the legacy version.
Right click and copy links.
Right, so I'll get all three of them. Right click, copy note links. You should then be able to go to a new one.
And paste.
So let's get a new one and go into there and paste. And yes, you can. What I used to do was drag and drop them, and that worked as well, but it doesn't look like that works anymore. Now, these are in here, and because I've done it in the legacy version, I would expect these to totally work. So these you should be absolutely fine with. If you have used this kind of linking system before, like me, to create a mesh of notes, I'd say just stick to it. Don't try this new thing, because it's going to give you problems if you do need to go back to the legacy version. And I don't think you'd need to go back to the legacy version for anything to do with the notes, because they are working as long as you're in version 10. It's when you need to go back to the legacy version for other things, like in my case, the legacy version is the only one that will play the audio files. And then the linking system you've created won't work because that's only version 10. So yes, that does still work. That was a faster way to do it anyway. That's how I used to do it. Anything else?
Mrs. Yarnold says, have you done sessions on Obsidian?
No, I haven't yet. But if that's something that is interesting, then you need to let me know. Hello, Daniela. Right, so let's get rid of that. We can now close all of that. Really, that's a heads up on, one, what backlinks are, and two, how you might want to deploy them. But there is a little bit more to it. So let's head back into there. Because not all backlinks are equal. And what I mean with that is not within Evernote. I'm talking about between Evernote and other applications. You know, Evernote can sit there and say, we've added backlinks. And I'm looking at them as an Obsidian user and a former Roam user. And I'm thinking, really? Oh, what a lovely toy. Did Fisher-Price design that? Because they are basic at best. And what I mean by that is Evernote's backlinks are page level backlinks. So they will navigate you from page to page to page. So if I've got a page of notes where I've got a summary at the top and I've got my detailed notes in the middle and I've got my references at the bottom. And Mike and I had a lovely discussion about this, didn't we, about an hour before we started. Mike learnt some new words. Not bad ones, good ones. But it's page level. It's referring to the entire page. When I use backlinks, or my backlinks, I don't even have to manually create them. I just have to link to something somewhere and the backlinks magically appear. But I'm using block level backlinks, which means that I can reference the summary within a page, or I can reference 2 lines within the detail, or I can just take the references and refer to those. That enables me, why that is so amazing, is that enables me to take part of one note and put it inside another note, which is called transclusion. Don't worry about the terminology. So what I've done is I've created a note inside Obsidian, and it lists all the cohorts of Ship 30 that I've done. That's what's in there. In every cohorts index, so I have an index at the top level these are all my Ship 30 cohorts. Inside the index page for one cohort, it includes that other note, which means that I only ever have to update one note and it's updated all of the notes. That's the kind of thing that we wouldn't start with that in Obsidian, but that's the kind of thing we would end up with in Obsidian if you wanted to see Obsidian. So people say to me, like, you know, there's nothing wrong with Evernote. No, there isn't anything wrong with Evernote. If you are happy with the way Evernote works, that's fine. But I wanted to take my work to the next level where I wasn't having to do all the manual work that I was doing in 2012 and beyond in Evernote. I haven't got time for that. I just need it to work. So I just have to reference a note and there's a link to it. I can get more granular by going down to either a block level or a heading level and just include that. It's amazing. But it's a totally different kind of note taking. But just so you are aware that there's backlinks and there's backlinks. There's backlinks that go to a page and there's backlinks that go to a reference, and it even highlights it for you when you go to it. So I think I should guinea pig you first, you know. He's gone very quiet there. So let me know what notes app you use and what you would like to use. If Obsidian seems to be very, very popular in terms of you want to see Obsidian, see what it can do. But let me know. Right, next thing on the agenda, MacUpdater. This one's fascinating. Right, many moons ago, I'm sure everybody had heard of macupdate.com. It was a website. It's still there now, still does the same thing. It is a utopia, a cornucopia of Mac apps. And it has reviews, it has versions, you can download straight from there. I took it a step further and I paid for MacUpdate Desktop. If you did, let me know in the chat.
I did.
It was such a good system because it meant instead of opening up an app and then checking that there was an update, you opened up MacUpdate Desktop, it scanned your system and it came back and told you what apps had updates available. You then got to decide whether you updated it, whether you left it. It was completely up to you, but it did give you that option. The problem became that the MacUpdate desktop app stopped working. MacUpdate still worked, you could still go to the website, but the actual desktop app itself wouldn't work. I can't remember which app, which OS killed it. I don't think it...
on a couple back.
It was a couple, it was at least a couple back, but I think it was it Mojave? Because we were on Mojave for quite a while before we went to Biggles, weren't we? I think it could have been Mojave. And it just stopped working. But the thing was, it was subscription. So if Apple brought that out in October and your subscription ran to the following May, like mine did, you were still paying, but you couldn't use it. It just wouldn't work. I expected it to be fixed within a few weeks. And people were really upset. But I thought it'd be fixed in a few weeks. Don't worry about it. It's still not fixed today. So if you go back and look at some of the comments, it's hysterical. So for me, that was problematic in two ways. Once I'd moved to the operating system that no longer supported it, I couldn't update my apps. The second thing was, you're paying for it, and I need now to not pay for it. But a third issue was, I still need that functionality. I still want to have a single place to go and update my apps. Enter MacUpdater. I know the names are really similar, but MacUpdater is a paid-for app that lets you it will scan your system and it will tell you what is out of date and how to update it, whether it is a full version, the whole thing. So I have for months, and I mean months, left one computer with lots of updates to do so I could show you how it worked, and maybe this would work for you. So let's have a look at it. I do have it running on this system here. So in the midst of everything that's going on in here, come on, up you come. Oh, bartenders, that don't disappear. Come back. Right, I have it running in here. It's this one that's telling me there's 2 updates. But 2 updates is not really enough, is it, to demonstrate the thing? No, I've got more updates to share. So I will get to another system. We don't want that. We want this. And we will take that full screen. So view full screen. Right, so this is my system. It's actually behind me. And I've got the App Store open to show you how many apps I've got in here waiting to update. So I've got 63 apps in the App Store waiting to update. Let's lose the App Store. Right, also available on here. And this is running an older OS. So because it's running an older OS, you're seeing it synchronize as it comes in there. But because it's running an older OS, it might look slightly different than my main OS. But I'll click on here. And in here, you can see I've got fractionally more to update. So I'll share it with you. So what I do is click on it. And that brings out this flyout. And it lists everything that needs to be updated. And obviously, there's hundreds and hundreds of apps because I've not updated it in ages. So I can share it with you. So from the start, right, this first one is saying upgrade app. That is different than the wording on these that say update app. This one has a red exclamation mark. And that is telling you that this is an upgrade, and it could be a paid upgrade. You're going from 7 to 8. So it's warning you. And if I were to click that, it would say this is a paid for upgrade. Are you sure? And that one I actually don't want to update. I want to leave it on 7. I'm not into the Electron thing. That can wait. But these ones that say update, you can see it's saying update from 7.18 to 7.24. So if I just hit the update button, it will update it behind the scenes. I don't have to do a thing. It's now updated and it's disappeared from the list. Same with a Better Finder rename. Just click on that and it will update. The next one, which is Acorn, is saying this is version 6 and that's version 7, so that could be an upgrade. So it's picking these up correctly. Something like Adobe Connect needs to be upgraded manually. I had no idea I still had that on there, but there you go. There's also one for Lightroom Classic, so it's saying that's going from 11.5 to 12.1, but in that case there's an updater. So it would open the updater for me. Same with Eon Timeline, that is another one to upgrade. These are upgrades and it's saying open the App Store. Open the App Store for the first 2, but Publisher says upgrade the app. That's because that one was installed directly and the other 2 were from the App Store. I've got Agenda, but now this one says open the App Store. So let's update Agenda, because you know the App Store is open. I had it open before and I minimised it. So if I just say open the App Store, fingers crossed it will actually come back. Do not make me switch to it. Come on. Let's do the App Store thing. So it's actually gone to it and it lets me update it. That's actually important because sometimes when you're in the update section, there are updates that are available and it does not show them to you. So you can go in there and you can see there are a lot of updates. But if you do Command and R, you see it's moved. It loaded some extras in that weren't listed. So Command and R will refresh the list. I think we've had another 4 added. But even so, some of them just are not listed in there. So let's go back to where we were. We'll leave that behind it. And we'll go back in here. So we've now got 246, fair enough. So this one is saying open the App Store, but that one should be updated. So it's scanning again and it's updated and it's disappeared from the list. You can see I clearly haven't done... Oh, I have actually. I did upgrade Alfred to version 5, but I left Alfred 4 installed. So that one is still sitting there and saying, do you want to upgrade this? Now, actually, I don't, because I've already done it. So with this one, I wouldn't want it to remind me again. So I'm going to do something different with this one. I'm going to go in and say, ignore this app. You can be really precise with this. You can ignore the app completely from this point on. You can ignore just this individual update, or you can ignore it temporarily for a certain amount of time. You might think, why would I ever do that? Well, sometimes an update comes out and the app itself doesn't list the update. So it's something that the developer has done on the update server, but taken a decision not to roll that out yet. And Parallels did this. I cannot have my Parallels not working, pretty much like you, Mike. And it's been a bit of a fortnight for Parallels. So what you could do, so it's not there and bothering you, you could say, I'm going to leave it another week and see if the developer officially releases this rather than just makes it available. So this system is checking their release servers, not necessarily ignoring ones that aren't for general release. So you could choose to ignore it for a certain amount of time. You could open the app homepage if you wanted to go and check things as well. But with this one, I just want to ignore it. I never want it to check Alfred 4, ever. Right. Amadeus Pro I can get from the App Store. Amadine I can get from the App Store. So you can see all of these. In fact, that one looks like an update, doesn't it? That's just going to update the app. Audacity is outside the App Store. So that one will just update the app. And, you know, this makes it way easier to do updates. The fact that you can just click on something and it's done is amazing. There are some apps I don't particularly do through this, but say like Audio Hijack, I could do that one. But you see underneath, I've got another one, Audio Hijack 3, and I don't want that upgrading. I want that leaving alone. So that is, again, one that I would say, ignore this app. This is why I had to leave all of these apps so I could show you all of the different options. Stuff like these. So we've got an upgrade app here because that's going from 13 to 14. It wouldn't stop you. So if I say upgrade app, it says this is possibly a major version update. Are you sure you want to do this? Now, actually, I do, because I've got a license for the new version, so I can just do it. So just because it's going to warn you that it's potentially a paid for upgrade doesn't mean that it can't do it. It will do it anyway. So we'll update that one. Oh, I've got better touch tool update. Got lifetime license for that one. That's fine. Sometimes it doesn't work great. And what I mean by that is, most of the time, Brave just won't update as far as I'm concerned. Now, watch it update on this OS. It doesn't upgrade over here. It doesn't update here. It looks like it's going to, and then it does some kind of internal check. And on my iMac that I'm sat in front of, it generally doesn't do it. Okay. These ones I don't want to be updated because these are old versions that if I update them, I'm going to have to get a new license. And I already have a license, but it's activated on this Mac and not that one. So I might as well leave that as it is. Oh, I wonder if Brave's going to do it. I don't think it will. We'll see. Then I've got all my versions of Camtasia. And you can see I've got one that was from the App Store. I've got two that are saying upgrade it. But I don't particularly want those to ask me to upgrade anymore because they're all offering me the latest version, which is 2022. So for this one, I would say ignore it. In fact, for all of those, I would say ignore it. If I was going to, I would be upgrading it to 2022. So I would ignore all of those. I don't want to be reminded that they need to be updated. That one's fine. So Capto can be updated. This carbon copy cloner one, again, it's an upgrade. So I would have to think, do I have enough licenses to upgrade that? If I don't, then I would leave it as it is. And that is literally what this app will do for you. You can, in here, open it. So if I open the app, then you get a full window. And you can see the application, the version that's installed, the newest version that's available next to it, and you get your options, whether you want to update or whatever. Why open it in a window rather than the little popover? Well, the little popover doesn't give you the opportunity that this does to sort and filter and play with it. So at the moment, it's sorted by update. And the ones that are listed at the top are all the apps that have a major version update available. So if we look at these, I think Feed has gone to version 4 and Photo Magico is version 6. Yeah, that's not happening. That's not happening because it's subscription. But you can see all of these. Look at the ScreenFlow ones, 7, 8, 9. There's all sorts on here that may be complete upgrades. And that's why the button is bold. Then we get to the updates, which technically you should be able to do because they should be included in the license that you probably have for them. So I would probably want that alphabetical, to be honest. I'd probably start and go down from the top. But there's lots in here. Is there anything that I can update? That one looks like something I could upgrade. Oh, that says upgrade. It shouldn't be an upgrade from 5 to 5, should it? But, oh, and then there's Evernote. Let's leave that alone. What else would I potentially do in here? Farrago should be fine. And update. But that is what this does for you. Can you go to the site and get the latest pricing, Mike? It is an annual thing, but I can't remember. I think it was around 20 odd pounds. But I can't remember what the exchange rate was when it was about 20 odd pounds. So who may find this useful? Is this the kind of thing that you just do? Or are you like Mike and you never update at all? And then I come to say, have you done this? Let's do that. And then we go into it. You can never remember the shortcut key. Then it comes up and says you've got 17 updates to install. And then bad words are said. So that's what happens here. Tell me what happens in your house. Right. How are we doing with the price? What is it at the moment?
This MacUpdater.
Yeah. Graphic designer, there's one. Oh, and Handbrake. I could do a Handbrake update.
Standard edition's $14.99.
I think I went for the next one up. What's the next one up?
Pro is $34.99.
Why did I go for Pro? What's the difference? Go on, share with us.
Family.
I think it's the number of pings you can have to the server in any week or something like that. So I went for the Pro version, but if you've just got the one Mac and you haven't got that many apps, you've not got as many as me to update.
MacUpdater is currently not on sale as we're transitioning from version 2 to version 3.
They did that when they went from 1 to 2.
Yeah.
So it really should be available, within a couple of weeks.
That's what it says here.
Yeah, it will not be long if they do that. I think that's good that they don't sell it when they're doing an update. So it looks like I may have to fork out again, but it is something that I use, and I do use this all the time. I find it more accurate than MacUpdate Desktop used to be. I always remember doing an update of DevonThink, and I had DevonThink Pro, and it updated it all right. It updated it to the baby version, and then I needed to manually get rid of it and then reinstall it. Yeah, don't do that. But this one does seem very accurate in terms of what it identifies as being updates. So you can see for this one, I've got How to Spot 5 install, which is saying is an upgrade. But above it, I've got 6.0.3 installed, and that is just an update. So it is incredibly accurate, and it saves me a ton of time. And if Mike ever actually used it, it would save you a ton of time as well, wouldn't it, dear? Yeah. Not the kind of thing that thrills Mike, but let me know, is this something that would thrill you?
There's a question here.
Go on.
Daniela says, can you also delete apps from here?
That's a very good point. Let's have a look at it. Let's go in there and do that. Launch, rescan, ignore. Doesn't look like you can uninstall it. No. There's a couple of apps that do the uninstalling. One is App Zapper, which I absolutely love. It's been around for ages, App Zapper. I never charged for another version. But all you do with App Zapper is drag and drop the icon onto there. So let's see that with, what was it, HubSpot 5. So I'll open up the apps folder. It's having a rare old think about it. Could be on the other screen. I've got 2 screens on that Mac, and you do not want to see the other one. It is huge. Can we just get a Finder window on here? Come on, new Finder window. That's it. Let's go to the apps folder. Let's go find it. That might not be the best one. Oh, there it is. Right, so what you would do with it is you would drag that icon from there onto App Zapper. And what makes this different from just deleting the app from the apps folder is that it has the preference files. So it's listed the preference files. You can see, although the application is version 5, I've got files here from version 4. So what it would enable you to do is decide if you want to keep it or not. So if I want to keep the preference files, I can tick out the box. If I don't, I want the whole lot to go, then I just leave it selected and hit zap. Wasn't this? You're not moving. I thought there was a way before you zapped it to have it backed up. Maybe I am thinking of a different app. I am clearly thinking of a different app. But that will completely delete that. As it says, it will send it to the trash. You would have to manually go and find these other files. So if you definitely want to get rid of an app, App Zapper is one way to do it. There was another one called App Delete, which was Reggie Ashworth. Have I got that installed? This is probably an old version of this. But as you can see, they are very, very similar, and they do a very similar job. Reggie Ashworth, unfortunately, died in a car accident. But I believe the software lives on. I think somebody bought it. So I think App Delete is still available. It's just not potentially the App Delete. If you've used it many years ago, it's not the same developer. But those are the best and safest ways to delete apps.
Yeah, I'll put the link in the chat.
They are both really good. I think I paid about $5 for App Zapper, and I've used it for like the last 16 years. It's amazing. It's still there. So did we have any other questions about that?
Yeah, another question from Daniela. When you delete an app, you have leftovers in the library folder. Do you have to manually delete those files?
You would have to manually delete them if you manually delete the .app file. So if I deleted this How to Spot 5 on its own, I'd have to manually go and dig out all the other files. App Zapper and App Delete collect those together for you. Let's see if App Delete found the same files. Let's do that. Yes, go and find it then. Right, let's find I would have Spark 5 and see if it comes up with the same files that App Zapper did. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. That one's taking a little bit longer. No, you do not need to access. I'll let you look at the desktop, but you're not having my contacts. That's not happening. That is taking way longer than the other one. It could be I haven't run it in a while, but even so, I don't think it should be taking that long. But what it's doing is it's looking for files that the .app file is relying on. So that's a better way to delete it. The one I've always relied on is App Zapper. That is just taking far, far, far too long. Is App Zapper still available for sale? It was the last time I looked, but that was a while back. It doesn't get much in the way of updates because it doesn't really need it. You know, it's doing one job. How much is it now?
Purchase.
I know where I got it.
$19.95 for a single license.
Wow, you know where I got it? I just remembered. What was that promo they used to do?
Mac Heist.
Mac Heist. And I think it was in Mac Heist. I think it was. That doesn't seem like it's getting anywhere. But to be honest, App Delete might need updating. Let me check for updates to that. Oh no, I'm actually running the latest one. That's not working then. But yes, if you delete the app, the .app yourself, you'll need to go and get the other files. But if you use App Zapper, you won't. So have we got anything else?
No.
Oh, delete apps and uninstaller. I've actually got one that does exactly the same job, and it's one of the Parallels tools. Parallels, if you are a subscriber to Parallels, give you the Parallels tools as part of the deal. But you can get the tools outside of that. I think, can you just get me a price for the Parallels tools on their own? If you're not interested in running Windows on a Mac, but you would like a range of tools at a cost-effective price, there's literally dozens of them. One...
Well, the Parallels Toolbox.
Yeah, the toolbox. There's stuff for all sorts in there. They can mute your Mac, all kinds of stuff. Because we looked at one of those tools, didn't we, when Jonathan had a need to mute the mic.
$20.99.
$20.99 for what's in it isn't bad, because you'd probably pay 10 or 20.
That's a subscription, that's per year.
Oh, it is per year, yes. But they do keep those tools up to date, and they do work in circumstances where something else doesn't. So there's been times I've been trying to do a job with a tool I usually use. It doesn't work. One of the things was we were changing the resolution on our screens to 1600 by 900. And the tool we were using let us do that. But the tool we were using would not let us change it to 1920 by 1080. But I found a tool in the Parallels toolbox that did that. So although it did exactly the same job, one's Resolutionator and the other one is from the Parallels tools, whatever the equivalent is. One let me change it to what I actually needed it. Switch resolution. Right? They do the same job, but one gave me the option that I wanted and the other one didn't. Just wasn't listed. So I literally could not change it because it wasn't listed. I'd have to do it manually. And Apple are locking down further with every OS allowing you to do that. They're not good with stuff like that. They don't like you being in charge of your own machine. So I find the tools are useful, but I don't know if I'd pay for them outside Parallels, because I'm grandfathered on something on Parallels, aren't I? I think I pay about £36 for one license, and you pay like 80. That's because I had a copy and you didn't. So have we got any more questions on that?
Nope.
Okay, so let's come out of my other machine. I will finish updating that later. But I find that a very, very useful tool. Okay, let's get Serenity out of the way. I can close that now. And Remote Desktop, everything might start running a whole lot better without all of that on it. Right, and into here, where were we? Oh, freebie time. Freebie time, found a good one. And it's all about cats. It's a thing called Napcatstudio. And that's their header with a napping cat on it. I like that. But what the thing actually is, what we're looking at is that we're looking at is a PDF file. And the PDF is generated according to instructions that you give the system. And you can then download a PDF of notepaper. And you decide what the notepaper looks like. So I thought we'd go and have a look at how we're going to do that. So I've got it open in a different browser. There we go. Let's get that full screen. So this is the page. What you need to do is to put values in here. So line spacing. So a centimetre seems to be reasonable. In terms of the colours, you can put in hexadecimal if you want. So if you've got a colour code you want to put in, you can do that. You can put in how deep you want the line. So I've got that at 1 point. You've got a range of paper sizes. So it defaults to letter, but the UK A sizes are in here all the way through to whatever you want. So I made mine A4. Then there's the margin. So this is the top, bottom, left and right. So I had that quite small. You can decide if you're going to skip the first line or not, and you can even create landscape ones if you want. It will take so many different things. So I've put in 10 millimeters for the margins, but 1 centimetre for the line spacing. And then I've got points in this one. So it does give you information at the bottom as to what you can put in. So it says, try 1.3 or 2.6. It even gives you, you can say red, you can say lime, you can say blue, or you can give it hex codes. And it suggests that 0.51 and 1.5 are the best for the line widths. So I've put 1 blue, 1 point on A4 paper, 10 mil, and skip the first line. You hit generate, and it toddles off and it generates that for you. So if I do that so we can see all of it, I now have a piece of paper that's a PDF I can download. I can upload that then to GoodNotes and start writing with it. So let's take that back. I'll do a download of that one. So just download it and then go back once it's done it. Oh, you want me to? Yeah, fine. Put that in there then. Right. So let's go back in here. And instead of the blue, let's say I want red. Instead of that being 0.1, I'll give it 0.5 mil. So put that in. We'll have it A4. We'll have the margins at 10. I won't bother skipping the first line, but this one I'll make landscape. I should probably make this different as well, shouldn't I? So if I put in there 1.5, I think I hit enter then rather than 1.5, but never mind. There we go. So that's that one. Let's save that one as well. I've not done the green one. So I definitely need to do the green one because I've not done that. So I will skip the first line. We'll change the red to lime. We'll have it. I put a dot in, didn't I? But I didn't put the 0.5 because my finger slipped. Right, 0.5, 1.5 and 10 mil again. So let's generate that. I could have hours of happy fun with this. This is a really great way to save yourself time in Affinity Publisher because what you're downloading is a PDF file and you can just open that up in Affinity Publisher. So you can have it do the heavy lifting and you just drag and drop them into Publisher for your journals or whatever you want to create. Loving that. Absolutely loving that. So let's save that as lines 2 and we're good to go. So give it a go. It's definitely worth it, that. The other thing is, because you can edit this in Affinity Publisher or Affinity Designer, in fact, anything that edits a PDF, if you wanted to put a margin in it, you've taken the hard work out with all the lines, you can just add an extra one on the left-hand side and then you've got a margin as well. That is rather cool. I like that. I was impressed with that. I liked it. Right. Can't remember. I think we're going back to that shortly. Right, let's get in. Oh, habit tracking in Notion. Who has made some New Year's resolutions that need tracking? I haven't. Made it a resolution not to make any more resolutions.
Daniela says, can she upload a PDF in it?
In that thing that we've just done?
The Napcat thing.
No, you don't upload, you download it. So you fill in the boxes and it generates the PDF for you and you then download it. You can edit the PDF in anything that can edit a PDF. I mean, even in Microsoft Word, if you wanted to put text on the lines, you could put it in as a background. But you are downloading something according to the specifications you've put in the website. Okay, so habit tracking in Notion. Right, there's a lot of different ways to do this, and I've got multiple ways to share with you. But the good news is you can get something that's really impressive without a lot of work. That's always good, isn't it? Let's go in and have a look. Right, I think I did it from Opera. Looks like I did. Right, I will be showing you one of mine. that's open in a window, like the other million things I've got in here open in a window. Right. Yes, I've got 2 things that I'm tracking. They're not habits, but 2 things that I built, which could be construed as trackers if you want to consider them that way. But let's start off with habit tracking and see what you can do. So the first thing you need to think about is, what is it you are tracking, and in what way do you want to track it? And the reason for that is you've got databases. So that's great. That's a great start. You've got databases. But you need to design that database. And so before you start, are you tracking the dates in the table, or are you tracking the dates vertical? So you've got a date in column 1 and another date in column 2. So if I show you my tracker for Ship 30, which you saw last week, it's not exactly a habit tracker, but it needs to be done every day. You'll see I don't actually have a checkbox to say it's shipped. I could do. I just haven't added that, because if you remember, if it's got an anchor, it's anchored in port. If it's got a ship, it's shipped. So day 1 is shipped. That's how I track it. But in here, I've got the dates in a column. But you could put the dates. I've got 1 column for the dates there. I could put numbers in for each day of the month if I wanted to track things on a monthly basis, in which case each line would be what it is I'm tracking. And then I would have multiple columns for the date. Or you could do it this way here, where I have the date in 1 column. So in essence, you need to make your mind up, what's the most important to you? Are you tracking the days and the what is secondary, or is the secondary, is the important thing what you're tracking and the dates are secondary? So you could do it either way. So in this one, I've built it so the date is in 1 column. Let's go back and see what you've got in here to make it easy, because we did look at templates, and templates is a great place to start. All the templates that you see from Notion are completely free. So if I were to not do that, if I were to click on templates and go into here, you have a whole range of templates. The majority of these could be turned into some kind of tracking, but we might as well start by looking for a habit tracker. So if you type habit in, you'll see there is 1 habit tracker in there. You can view it before you decide to use it. So for this one, you can see in here, it's got all habits, and there are entries for the 1st, the 2nd, the 3rd, and so forth. There are also 2 views for this. There's the all habits view and there's the table view of the habits, which you can't see in this preview. This is just a graphic, but it gives you an idea and it's a place to start. So click on Get Template and it will add that to here. Right, this is very different from me tracking, doing 1 thing a day. So this is all the habits and it's doing it by the 1st of January, the 2nd of January, the 3rd of January. And it's using a view which shows you what is in the card. So the word first is the name of the card. Then inside it, you've got journaling, running, 8 hours of sleep, meditation, and this circle. The circle is calculating, did you complete everything that you want to habit track? And it carries on until the end of the month, 31st. Also in here, you will see that there is an option to add a new month. Now that is a button. You don't see many people talking about that anymore. But if you go in there, template button, they're called. We actually do use that. I should probably put button there instead of leaving it at but. We don't use that too much because we've got a lot of templates, but this template button allows you to add items to a database. It will create the item and then you drag and drop it to the database. So it is a way of having something specific with something different below the fold that you can add to an existing database. So that's what the Add New button is for. Right. Why would you put that there? You know, can't I just add a day at a time? Well, you could do. But the idea of having it as a button is that it does a lot for you. So if what you're trying to achieve is putting in 31 days, or in this year, 28 days in February, you can do that with a click of one button. That's what the template buttons are for. We have two template buttons for After Hours. We have one that generates the comms. So any tweets we're sending out, any mails we're sending out, puts all of those in the right place. And the second one adds the standard sections to our running order. So we've got the week at MacBites headquarters, we've got the coming up. All of those are added automatically. That's not the kind of thing that you could put in a template. And even if we did, we'd then make a new... It would give us problems. If we made a new show, they would be created. And then if we needed to delete that, when we re-added it, we'd end up with everything duplicated. So we don't do that. We have that template button. We click the button when we are ready to create it and not before. Now, because you've downloaded this, you've installed it into your Notion, as well as the All Habits view, you can see there is a secondary view, which is the table view of the habits. So if we enable the table view, totally different. Now, let's give ourselves a little bit more breathing room. So let's make that full width so we can see it. It's showing you that the day is what I call the click-through field, which is the field with the open in. You've then got the habits that you're tracking in columns. And this was what I was saying. In this one, the days are in a column, which is like mine. The habits are then in columns, but you could have columns representing the first, the second, the third, and down the column here, you could have the habits that you're tracking. It just depends which way you want to do it. This is done this way for a reason. And that reason is the first column, which is this one here. This is progress. So the first one is saying you've done 4 out of 4. And this one is saying 3 out of 4, which is correct. And if we said we got 8 hours of sleep, then that one would complete and it would say 4 out of 4. So the first column is a calculated column that is calculating how well you did. So the idea of this is that by the end of the month, you would hope to see 100% complete in all of these. Realistically, unlikely to happen. But that is why it's doing it. So I'm just going to click back on the All Habits. Now I've gone wide with that, you can see that it actually neatly fits in 7 days. So you can see an entire week across there. If you click on one of these to actually open it, there's nothing inside it below the fold because everything that you can see is above the fold. These are all meta elements of this entry that's called first. Now, you may want something different. So if you're not going running, trust me, running, not happening. No, not happening. Then it's a simple matter of going in here and editing that property. So you could call it something else if you wanted. That could have a knock-on effect. So for me, it's likely that I would want to say that that is not running. No, it's reading. So I'm going to copy that because I'm positive something's going to break. But I would go in here and I would put a book. Yes, books. Right. So mine would be reading. Okay. So all I've done is rename that to reading. Oh, it didn't break. I'm impressed. I'm very impressed. Right. I was expecting that may well break because of how this is calculated at the top. Obviously, if I take this out, it loses 25% with every one that I turn off. But I thought it might break because it has to make reference, this calculation, to these fields. And if that said running rather than reading, and I change the name of it, unless it's clever and it updates, which it did, it would break. But we can break it. Let's break it. Right, so in addition to reading, what else do I do, Mike? Geeking. Can I put geeking?
Yes.
I'll add geeking. So I want to change it. So I'm doing 5 things. So each one of them is worth 20%. Now, this is when I guarantee you it will break, because I broke it earlier. Here's one I broke earlier. Right, so I want to add something else to track. This is when it's good that it's above the fold and it's metadata, because if I add something, in fact, before I actually add anything, if we just look what's happening behind, reading has come through to all of the others because it's metadata defined at the database level. So let's head into here and add a property. And I'm going to geek. So I need something that's geek. Isn't that the guy with the glasses? Oh, is he nerd? Nerd, not geek.
I always thought that was geek.
I did. Hang on. There he is. That one there. What is it? Oh, come on. Don't play around. Show me. What is it? Smiling face with glasses now. Not a geek.
Oh.
He was a geek. Right. So I'll put geeking. Right. Now, at the moment, that will add something, but the type is incorrect. That's what the lines are showing me. So I can add it, but I would need to change the type of it so it was a checkbox, like that. Okay, that looks good to me. But it has broken, because this is saying it's complete 4 out of 4. Yes, but I've added a 5th. Well, you're manually going to need to make changes here. It's going to look horrific, but don't worry. You can copy and paste. So we need to change this. This symbol, the sigma symbol, means that it is, where's the property gone? Edit the property, right? It means it's a calculation. It says it's a formula. And in here, it's got different ways of displaying it. So it could show it as a number. It could show it as a bar. But this one is showing it as a ring, as complete. And obviously, as a ring, you can choose a different colour and you can choose all of this. Right, but the formula that's calculating this, let's go into the formula. It's not pretty, is it? But it's not that difficult either. What it's saying is take the property called journaling and convert it to a number. So all of these need converting to a number. So we've got journaling, we've got reading, we've got hours of sleep, and we've got meditation. But we now have 5 things. We need to add the geeking in. So at the end of it, what I do is I look back and I see what's repeating in here. And it's everything from the plus to the closing bracket. If we go there, closing bracket up to the plus. So all I need to do at the end here is replicate that, but make sure that the property is the geeking property rather than anything else. So I put a space in, and as soon as I put a space in, it goes mad. It tells me at the bottom that there's a syntax error. Don't worry about the syntax errors. Right, plus. And then I need to put in to a number. And at that point, what it gives me in the little window below, it's trying to help me out here. Okay, you want something to be a number. And I do. And I could click on that and it would put in the syntax. So if you think of like Excel, when you put equals round or whatever you put in, you need to put equals round in and then open the bracket. And then you need to give it some information. And the information is a property. So you put in there prop. It's still complaining, but don't worry about it. As long as you're following along with what's above, it'll be fine. After you've typed prop, you need to open the brackets again. And as soon as you open the brackets, it lists the properties for you, which means you can just click on geeking and it will put it in and you do not need to worry. However, it's still complaining. It's saying at the bottom, expected character 169, and it's showing you its closing bracket. If you look back at all of the others, to number, followed by a property, plus to number, followed by a property, there's 2 brackets. This is actually, because I clicked on it, I've got prop in twice, so I need to get rid of that for a start. But over there now, I only need to put the closing bracket. When I put the closing bracket, it stops complaining in the lower left and the done button becomes active, so I can just click it. Right. So I've done with that. Right. Does that actually work? So let's go back in here. And if we do that, that's fine. But we need as we take it away, that's saying half, and it's not quite right. So we need to go back into up here. We need to edit the property, and you need to divide it by 5 and not 4, because now you're tracking 5 things and not 4. So let's put 5 in there and come back here. So we got 2, we've got 3, we've got 4, and now we have 100% because we've got 5. So that wasn't that tricky. How do we feel about that? That's not that tricky, is it? Sometimes it's that complicated. I take it out and I put it in a text editor and I try and work it out in a text editor. And if it gets beyond that, I just ask Mike to fix it. Because he's the Excel expert. He's got more chance than I have of guessing the syntax. And I do mean guessing the syntax. I don't think that's as helpful as Excel, is it?
No.
Excel's quite forgiving in the syntax department. And no, Notion's not really that forgiving. But I don't think that's too tricky. I think you could do it. All right, and as Patience says, has anybody purchased any Notion templates? Obviously, there's a range of templates that you can purchase, and you'll find all kinds of calculations and syntax in there going on. Most of the time, you can reverse engineer it back. That's not that difficult, I don't think. And that is how you would customize that one. Can I say I understand Chinese more than those formula? Daniela, we all do. That capability was there almost from the very beginning. They've tweaked it and added to it a bit. But what they haven't done is actually make it like more human. When you think what you can do with that chat GPT now, where you can ask it all kinds of things, what you have to do in here is ridiculous. I think you should be able to say to it, I want to track 5 things. Show me a circle. But I'm sure it'll come. It's just not there yet. But it's doable. As long as you've got something that works to start with, the worst case scenario, copy the entire thing. So if I were to go into here and on the progress, edit the property, and then edit the formula, literally select the whole thing and copy it. And then if need be, put it into an editor. Where's that just gone? There you are. And paste that in. You can edit it in here if you want. So if you're looking at it and you're thinking, I'm confused, right? You can literally put in what looks like a break. So before the plus, just to make sure that you're correct. If you wanted to add another one in, take that bottom line from there, press enter, put it in, change that to the name. So if you've got something else like football, literally you can go and get... I did type football in. Yes, you've overwritten it, haven't you? There's the football. So put the football in, lose the foot, because I typed it too quickly, couldn't keep up. Type the football in, and I'm looking at that and I know it must be correct. The last thing I would then do before I paste that back in is to delete all of these carriage returns, like that, and I'm good to copy and paste that in. So it can be edited out. The other thing is just to keep a copy in case it all goes hideously wrong. Of course, you should be able to roll back inside Notion, but, belt and braces, always a good idea to have that in there as well. Okay, we got any questions on that before I move on?
No.
All right, let's delete that. And done on that. Awesome. Right, so that's one way of doing it. There are several other ways of doing it. So we've looked at the template that's provided. We've looked at how to mark it as complete. We've looked at how to add extra things to track. That isn't particularly how I do it, but I'm not trying to track multiple items in one database. So my journaling would I'd probably have it in Notion in a journal. And my reading would probably be in a reading thing rather than just tracking what I've actually done in one place. But I have some real trackers. So we've seen one of them. Let's get that out of the way. One is that one, which is not really using a tracking style of thing. But that will guide me through my course. I know it will, because it's done it before. So if we look back at the other ones, I know that it will work. And if we look at what I've got in here, so this is today's. I don't want to go into there. That's my course schedule. Right, I'm trying to open this. Are you going to open for me? No, you're trying to edit, aren't you? Why are you doing that? Why are you not opening for me? Or is it on here? Oh, it's not even letting me open this. I guarantee you there is something in there. Why are you not working? Did I lock you or something? It's not saying it's locked. No, that's the page. Locked and unlocked. Let's lock it and see if it then goes in. You gonna let me open it now, or are you just going to be awkward? Oh, why is it not working? Tell you what, I'll switch the view. Now it's working. Right, okay. So that's what I'm tracking. So it is something that I'm tracking. I guess you could say it's a habit, but I've got more information than I could put in a habit tracker. So it's something that I'm doing every day in January, but I need to track more information. So I've got the cohort, the date and the day I can predict. Below that, I've got my TypeShare URL. I've got the tweet URL. And on day one, the tweet and the thread are the same. Subsequent days, they'll be different. So I'll actually edit the template. So the thread URL, which is there, you're going to let me copy that, or are you going to be awkward? Right, if I take that, not the LinkedIn one, that one, the Twitter thread in there, I will copy that. And then what I've got below it, these just make it easy to copy and paste. So today there were 3 tweets. This was generated, so I want a copy of that. These tweets I tweeted. So the first tweet went with the essay. The second tweet was then added to the thread. This top one has got the ship 30 for 30 hashtag. These ones have the Affinity and the Affinity version 2 hashtag. And then, because this was the first one, I then put a third tweet up, which was want to learn what version 2 has to offer. So I've got these in here, days in hand, if I know what I'm actually doing. If there's anything that needs researching, I will put that at the bottom. And the final thing that goes underneath here, which isn't there at the moment but will be, is the text of this. The reason that it's not there already is it gets written in Obsidian and it gets copy and pasted in here. And I can't remember what time I was putting it. I was putting it up before the show, wasn't I? Before the session at 5 o'clock. So I didn't get a chance to copy and paste it. But that is what would be down there. So because I'm tracking a lot more, including the LinkedIn link and the Medium link, it's all over the place. Because I'm tracking more, it is a habit tracker, but it's only tracking one habit, but a lot more information. So you saw that last week and it was blank, and now it's got one whole item filled in. I guarantee there's more happening, but it's happening in Obsidian and it'll be coming in here as and when it's finished. So Obsidian's where I think about it, formulate it and write it. But once I come to formalise it, it's taken out of there. Mike will normally check it for me in terms of spelling and grammar. I get imaginative with spelling and grammar at times, don't I? So that is fixed at the Obsidian end, and then I come in here and it's all about tracking specific information. But it's fantastic to be able to go back. Was it August I did it? Yes, this is more Affinity stuff. So if I wanted to be talking about data merge, then I can look at what I wrote last time. I've got all of the links to it here. I've got the actual essay. I've got the tweets that I sent out. Heaven knows what this one is at the bottom. But again, I've promoted the video of data merge. And that's it. I copied and pasted it from there. So if I'm thinking, what have I said about data merge before? It's a really quick way to go back and look at it. So when you start doing this and you've got one entry, you'll be like, I'm thrilled. You know, it's a lot of trouble. Is it worth it? It is down the line. Because in here, by the end of this cohort, I'm going to have 180 essays that I've written that I can then take and repurpose. That's the idea. So it is a habit tracker, but it's very, very different to just, I got me 8 hours of sleep. That never happens, does it? Lola doesn't like that. But there's one of them. A very, very different one, which is a genuine thing. Although this says demo, all I've done is copy what I use this year. But every Christmas since I was a kid, my mum taught me this prayer. And you're supposed to say this prayer 15 times a day. Don't ask, it takes a while, especially if you get behind, because you're allowed to catch up. But this time I'm tracking that I have said a prayer 15 times a day. So how I did that, and this has been kicking around a while, this is just the 2022 version, is I've got this table and I'm tracking it. So a horizontal line entry, a record, is a day. I am not tracking this where I've got 15 of those and then I've put the days across the top, although that wouldn't necessarily be wrong. It just depends on how you want to do it. It's easier to do it this way, and I'll explain why. But what I've got here is I start on the 1st of the month and I put a tick every time I say this prayer. Luckily, it's a short prayer. If you're saying it 15 times, it would probably take, I tend to say it in batches of 5, it would probably take about three and a half minutes maybe on average. So, but you are looking there to take like a 15-minute break to rattle these prayers off. And you do, if you get interrupted, you get grumpy. So put check in the box every time. So obviously, because Mike asked me, didn't you, Christmas morning, did you miss any? I said, no, I didn't. Here's my tracker. But how I built this tracker, I'm not really interested, which is very unusual, in what the tick represents, because I know what the tick represents. A few years ago, it didn't look like this. If we go into, this is all. So this is showing me everything. But if we go into outstanding, we're not going to see anything because I do not have any outstanding prayers left to say, thankfully, because it's now January. But if I go back into here and I missed the last 5, so I take the ticks out of these and show you what happens in the outstanding. Right, it's now saying, 24th, you didn't finish. Naughty, naughty. And I hardly ever use this view, which is why you can see the column headings of each one actually have a number. So that is what this looks like if I open it. This is what my tracker looks like. And there it is. That's the prayer at the bottom. And you had to leave it like that. So it shot off the page by some considerable amount. It was really annoying. But they changed the option for checkboxes that you could collapse them. This changed about 18 months ago. So for this, I don't care what the number is. The checkbox is enough to see if I've actually said it. So, which is what I did with the first view, I can now scoot these up. This is great because now I can see it on my phone. I do not have to scroll sideways for 20 minutes to see it. So I deliberately didn't update this view so I could share it with you when we looked at habit trackers. But it's really simple just to change that view now and collapse these. So if you have in a record for anything, it doesn't have to be a habit tracker like this, but if you have in anything a checkbox, you can fold it up like that. So there's something that Mike and I have, which wouldn't be, would it be in this one or that one? Good grief, where is it? Let's see if I can show it to you. Oh, I pulled that out. Where did I put it? I told you there's going to be a lot of windows tonight, didn't I? There it is. Right, let's fold that over and have a look at it. Let's have a look at it. There we go. So this is what I'm running the show from tonight. And you can see here that there is a checkbox here. And that checkbox is it on deck for me? So if I open this a bit, ODE, on deck for Elaine. We also have an on deck for Mike. So if Mike was doing anything in this, which obviously he's not, but if he were, I could add that. So if I go in here, what do I want? I don't want all of this stuff, do I? ODM. So put an eyeball next to it and close that. ODM is over here. What we do is we drag it that way. And instead of leaving it like that, we know that the first column is me and the second column is Mike. So we can close these up. But obviously there's only certain circumstances where you can do that. But the ability to close that over is fantastic. I wish it was there with some of the other fields where we've only got a date in it in short form and we have to keep it a certain width. But that is how I would use that in there. But in the habit tracker, it works brilliantly. So I can scoot those up. And as I go in and I fill these in, like that, when I click the last one, it should disappear because that one is now done. Right, going back into our all and showing you that at the bottom, I too have this template button. So I will show you what that looks like inside. It's got a button which says, so I've got some text on the button. That is the text that you see up here. If you wanted that to say something else, you would put that in and it automatically comes through to the button at the top. So I'm not staring at what looks like an insurmountable number of prayers to say, I only add one day at a time. So what I'm actually adding is down here, it's a page, it's called XX/12, so one like these. I don't put a year in it because I make a new page. So, and literally, does it matter next year that I said them last year? No. So it's a separate table. It would have the year on it if they were all put in the same table, but it doesn't matter. It can basically be deleted when I finished it. But that's how it works. So I close that up and it's at the bottom. If this were this time next year, well, towards the end of this year, I can click the add a new record button and it goes away and it's thinking about it. It's going to add a page. Eventually. Don't make a liar of me. Oh, come on. I tested this before. Why is everything going to go slow? There we go, eventually. Right, it's gone in and that's the prayer. But we're not interested in that. We're interested in this, which is a page. So obviously, this is a page and not a record in there. I will change the name, right? So in there, this will happen next year, well, this year now, 2023. And go back to that. But it's still a page at this point down here. If I open it, you can see, one, I've got the prayer in it. That's fine. But I'm going to add it by dragging and dropping it. And that adds a lot of information to it. So let me widen that a bit because I've made it wider at the bottom. Right, it's added all of these to it. But when that was down here, it didn't have that. So if I open this now, it had the prayer before, but it certainly didn't have all of these. And those get added when you add a page to that database. So the page that's in this button doesn't need anything but the prayer if you want to say it, and that up there. I actually don't need that there anymore because I've put it at the top of the page, which is in there. So I just open it when in fact, I've memorised it. Trust me, I don't need to see it. Right, and then I would just then start marking them off as done. Oh, could I say them early, do you think? I don't think that counts. I think that's called cheating. But I could if I wanted. And that is how I organise that. So if what you're trying to track is something, maybe glasses of water in a day, then you could just put 8 or 10 across here, however many you want, and you can fold them up as tight as that. And that's another way to track habits. So do we have any questions before you go that I need to look at?
Yes. Mrs. Yarnell says, do you use a more simple task manager or to-do list app?
Right, okay. What I use when I'm doing things not like this, for this I wouldn't because I've got the prayer in there and I've been doing this for 5 years now, I think. But for doing things, my to-do app of choice is Things. Now, for many, many years, it was OmniFocus. Until I realised I was spending far too much time, I would say playing with OmniFocus, but I wasn't. I was trying to make it work. I was trying to make OmniFocus work in the way I wanted it to work. And to be honest, it was a heavy lift. So I decided I would track my to-dos in Notion. And then I realised I needed a quick way to capture stuff. This was just random thoughts. And I tried lots of different ways to do it. And I came to the conclusion that what I needed was like a shortcut key, like Spotlight or Alfred, where a box came up and I could just type text in. It wasn't particularly things to do. It was just any text that I wanted to capture in that moment. So it could be, ring the vet for more medication for the dog, could be anything, absolutely anything. The majority of things were something to do. So I decided OmniFocus, there was too much meta I needed to add, whereas things just let me type in and press enter. So I thought, right, I'll use things. But I tried things as a to-do manager for about 5 times before and it never worked. Couldn't get my head around the tag situation. So I started using things just to capture notes. It could be to-do items, it could be something that needed to go into Notion, could be anything. And little by little, I started to trust things more. And I started like, oh, these 5 things belong together in a project. I'll create a project. But it happened organically. It didn't happen with me barging in there and saying, right, this is what I'm going to build. Here are the blueprints. I'm going to build that. Because I think that's where I'd gone wrong before. I didn't really know what I was going to need because I didn't really know what I was putting in there. So I started doing that 2 years ago. And over time, things has become where all my to-dos are. Now, that doesn't mean that I don't have stuff in Notion. I mean, you can see I have stuff in Notion. I have all of the MacBites stuff in Notion. This kind of information that we've got in here, there's no way that I would be putting any of that into things. So the Vivaldi thing came in and I added it. You can see it's a late edition. It hasn't got an icon. But all of the stuff I need to do for this is in here. And things get moved around. So the habit tracker was before the freebies, but then it moved to after the freebies. None of this gets put into things because it's more of a project and that I know it's there. It would take me longer to put it into things than it would do it. So, and it needs to be in here anyway for tracking. So that gets done in here. And what would go in things is, you know, finalise running order for after hours 176. But things is where all my tasks are. So I use things. What do you use? Would I recommend reminders? Reminders is actually pretty good. They've improved it immensely in the last few years. I still wouldn't use it. The reason that I wouldn't use reminders is Apple just suddenly decide that they're not going to support a certain operating system or a certain device anymore. And if you try opening up, now for no good reason other than Apple have decided it. So if you try and open up your reminders on an older device or a device that you don't want to update, you suddenly have no access to your reminders. And they've done that multiple times. And sometimes they're only supporting back 2 versions, the current version and 1 version. And, you know, knowing that reminders worked perfectly last week, but now they've just decided to cut it off, that's why I wouldn't use it. What I would use instead if I wasn't using things, because I appreciate things needs paying for on each separate platform, all of them. The desktop, the iPhone and the iPad. Now I paid for it years ago. I think it's 5 years since there was an update. So I bought it then and I haven't had to pay a bean since. There should be, we're due a new version this year, but to be honest, we were due a new version last year. It may need paying for again this year. If you wanted something that was almost as good as things, and actually it's got a feature that Things doesn't have, which is it can share projects and tasks. Microsoft To Do is really, really good. They bought out Wunderlist and asset stripped it really, didn't they? Took out all of the good features and it went into Microsoft To Do. And Microsoft To Do is totally free on every platform. And I wish Things had the ability to share like Microsoft To Do does. So on the odd occasion that Mike and I are working on a project where we actually need shared to-dos, we would use Microsoft To Do. Unless it was something way more complicated and we built something in Notion. But if it's just a lot of simple tasks, we'd probably put it in To Do. So that's what I would do.
Question from Joe.
Yep.
How do you get the Evernote icon into Notion?
Oh, that's easy. Right, let's get rid of this and let's go back to that. Right, and what are we putting on that one? Oh, Vivaldi. Right, I don't know why that's jumping around. Right, what I did for that, I have an icon from somewhere. So if it's Evernote, you'll see I've got extract icon. And I put in what I'm looking for. So in this case, it was Evernote. Now, what we're looking at is Alfred. So I have a workflow in Alfred to extract the icon from an app. If you haven't got Alfred, you don't use Alfred, you're on a Windows box or anything else, just get the Evernote icon from somewhere. Right, so there's the Evernote icon. But what I'll do it with is I will do it with Vivaldi. So same principle, and extract the icons. You're wondering where they are. They go on the desktop. So there's my Evernote icon and there's my Vivaldi icon. Right, the next thing I do, so let's get these to the point where I can see it, is I would be opening Vivaldi so I can see the thing at the top, which is in here. So this is all our stuff. And up there you have the ability to add an icon. Now when you click it, you automatically get an emoji. But you have options. You can change the emoji. You can go and choose an icon from in here, and when you choose one, so say like that archive icon, you can then choose one of the colours to go with it. Or you can hit custom and go and find one of your own. Now it says the recommended size is 280 by 280. This is way bigger than 280 by 280. So what I would do with it, to get it to display properly, is to go up to there and I would resize it. So I'm going to adjust the size of the icon. But the resolution is 144. So instead of making it 280, I would make it 560, which is double the 280. And OK. Click the 1 and that is what we are left with. So I save that. And where it says I can either paste a link or I can upload a file, I will upload a file. So click on upload file. Point it towards the desktop. There's the Vivaldi icon. And click open. And that adds it in. Loaded. Once I go back in here, no, I don't want to go into resources, don't do that. I've got all sorts in there that do not work for what I'm doing here. Let's just get rid of that and scroll down a little bit. No, we don't want that either. Right, so down to here where everything was. It works better if it's full, wider than that, but there is the Vivaldi icon, and that's all I did to get this Backlinks one in here. So that one again is 1024. So I would open it up, I would go to tools, I would go to adjust size, check the resolution. If it's 72, I'd make it 280. If it's not, then I make it double, which is 560. Okay, save, quit. And then you can put that anywhere. Any one of these, you can customize it. So they do tend to get customized, like the freebies is the guy throwing up. And this one is a habit tracker. I didn't use a Notion one with that. I used the Zen thing. But I tend to do that. I didn't used to do it, but it actually makes a huge difference when you're looking at it. It makes it glanceable. So it's probably worth it if you've got the time. And when I talked about these buttons that make magic beans, if I open up this standard show sections, it is a macro button. It's a template button. So it says add standard show sections. So if I click that, it puts these things in that maybe are standard, although we haven't got an unboxing this week. So I don't want to move the whole lot. What I want to do is grab these. So I need to click. No, you're moving the whole thing. Oh, hate it when the screen is so tiny. Drives me mad. Right. I grab these, which I normally do from there, but that is doing weirdness. I don't want to do that. I just want to grab these. And I swear this works. This is making it look difficult, but it's not. I don't drag them one by one. I usually grab them from the out. There we go. So they are pages. It has unpacked them into this toggle, but I grab them and I drag and drop them into the table. And then I go through and change the date. So I would get the first one and I would then put that in the date, paste. And I'm done. And then, as we go through, it's like tick in the box, that's done, or that's not done. If there's something that I'm not using, so I'm not using any of those, then I can just delete them. We do exactly the same with the comms. So up here, we have a whole comm system going on. And there are the standard comms, and I just push a button and we're good to go. So that's something that's real. Those are things that are actually real that we use. It's driving tonight's show. So have we got any more questions about that?
No.
Okay. So I will head back into there. What have we got coming up? Oh, brace yourselves. It's back to Friday next week. It's the 13th of January. Yes, Friday, the 13th of January. What could possibly go wrong? Join us and see. It could well be one of those nights. Let's just say that. And available on demand, we have everything that we have done. So you'll find that at youtube.com/Elaine Giles. That includes the playlist for After Hours, which goes all the way back to November 2018. Jammy, where are you at? Jammy was either 100 in or had 100 to go. I like to think he was 100 in. Let us know. We need to know. If you want that, you will find that at macbites.co.uk/After Hours playlist. It takes you straight there. And of course, we love you guys. If you love us, please give us a like, because YouTube likes that, just not as much as we do. There's also a subscribe button. Now, I know if you're in the chat, you're subscribed, because the chat's subscribers only. After that incident with the rather, what would you say, cheeky person who was saying things. Yes, he was ardently admiring us, I think is a phrase that would explain it, don't you think? Yes, he's not going to do that again. But there is a subscribe button, and then you can chat with us, which would be great. But if you don't want to chat, just sit and watch. There's also the VIP list, which you will find at elainegiles.com/VIP. That would be a good idea to sign up to that, wouldn't it? Because obviously you have seen tonight when we were doing the Renee's Eagle was opening the wrong thing. You have seen that there is another secrets guide kicking about. Let's just say that. And then there is first news on all of the After Hours sessions, which you will find macbites.co.uk/macbites-mail. There is also Slack, where we carry on the conversation. And that is available completely free of charge at macbites.co.uk/Slack. Oh, grand. And you can find us there, although apparently Mike's never on Twitter. You're on LinkedIn, though.
I was on Twitter tonight.
That was only because I was threatening you if you didn't put a like on.
A like.
Yeah, I don't write stuff that a lot of them want to read. It's all a bit esoteric. You know, like mindsets and stuff. And I'm like, your mindset's fine, but having the perfect mindset won't help you push the buttons in a data merge. Just saying. But apparently, there you go. So I don't get that many likes. Oh, pity me. Right, have we got any questions?
No.
Good night, Pandemonium. I'll see you next week. We got no questions at all.
No questions.
Is it because it's the new year? Are you all exhausted? Is that it? Surely there must be something.
No, I think all the questions have been...
I tell you what I'll do. I'll go and have a look live at my Twitter and see how it's doing. Because I told you it had one like. Oh, it's a good job I don't care, isn't it?
Gary's on 77.
Oh, that's good. That's good. So you have over 100 to go. But you'll get there.
Daniela loves Friday the 13th because her eldest son was born on a Friday the 13th.
There's nothing wrong with the 13th. I was born on a Friday. It wasn't the 13th, it was the 19th. But my mum always enjoyed the 13th. She said it was a very lucky number for her. But that about epitomises my mother, doesn't it? Yeah. If there was ever anything that people didn't like, she'd go the other way. Right. It says I've got 6 notifications. Where am I at?
I've got to tell you that Daniela uses a pen and pad. LOL.
Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that at all.
And Jammy's got a question, but he's not typed it in yet.
Oh, I'm waiting with bated breath. Oh, yes, I've got lots of likes on here, so thank you very much. Thank you. Yeah, there'll be another one tomorrow. What's it about tomorrow? Oh, I think you guys will all know about what I'm talking about tomorrow. But that's no reason not to ferret it out and put a like on it. Just saying. There will be stuff that you don't know, I'm sure. I'll get round to it eventually.
Right, Jammy's put his question in the chat.
Right. Oh, the Photo 2 sessions, when I get round to it. I was hoping for at some point next week.
When you least expect it.
It's getting that way, isn't it? When you least expect it. Because I don't like January. January is my least favourite month. The first week in January has become all right, actually, because you take it off work. But you know when you go back to work on the 2nd of January? Loathe it. So I'd kind of mentally thought, yeah, it's not going to be that week. But that does leave me next week, doesn't it? Or the week after. So they will be the next live sessions, the next 2 live sessions. It's just a matter of when. Is there anything specific you would like to take a look at, Jimmy? Let me know that.
And a request from Daniela in the chat.
Right, what's this? Please make a new 101 for iPad. You'll gladly pay for a good tutorial. What is it you're trying to make? A lot of people contact me and say, it's a newsletter or it's a magazine. A church newsletter, quite frequently. And I know all about church newsletters, handle that every week. This week's was a farce, wasn't it? But we won't go into that. Oh, actually, you missed all that because it arrived really late. And it's not in Affinity Publisher. The annoying thing is I talked the parish secretary into buying Affinity Publisher just before the pandemic hit. So I was going to go in and I was going to train her to use it. Of course, I then couldn't go in, could I? So I'm still checking this thing in Microsoft Publisher. So I came to this bit, you know that article from that Terence guy? I'm trying to read this article and I've got different coloured text, I've got different font faces, I've got different sizes, and I've got loads of spaces because it was copy and pasted from an email. So I thought, right, I'll put these extra carriage returns in. Well, yeah, there were extra carriage returns. And then I formatted it so it all was beautifully spaced. And I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, where's that text gone? It didn't say it was overflowing, but it had vanished. So I'm in the stage of like, OMG, I might have to roll this back. Where's it gone? When I realised she'd put in an extra page because it was so long. And because it's digital, she can do that. She couldn't do that when she had to print it. But she'd put an extra page in and I had no idea how to link the 2 text frames. So she'd pasted up to a certain point and then pasted the rest into a second text frame. So needless to say, when I'm correctly formatting it, it's vanishing from before my eyes. Luckily, I worked out what was wrong with it before I cut the Pope off in his prime. Absolute scream. But what are you creating?
And it's not iPad, it's the Mac.
Oh.
And she's creating a cooking book.
Oh, no, I did have a session. I did have a session planned. That was a cookery book.
And she'll send you a draft.
Oh, lovely, lovely. Am I eyeing up any new Apple tech? No, is the short answer to that. I would be if they came to their collective senses and brought out another iMac. A real proper one with a proper screen that enabled me to run 2 external monitors. So basically, the one I've got upgraded and I'd be there. In fact, they would already have had the money for that, but they decided in their wisdom that they weren't going to do that. So my problem is, if I went for something like the Studio or a Mac Mini, and the Studio looks amazing, and I'd be able to put it somewhere like next door, so I don't have to listen to the fans when I start to kill it. But I'd have to buy the monitor with it, because if I don't, I can't record Retina. The monitor, I think, was fractionally more than the computer, wasn't it? And I'd need 3 of them. So I needed to grow kidneys so I could do that.
Wants to know where to send the draft to.
Do you want to send it to me? Do we have anywhere that can be uploaded?
Why doesn't she contact you through your website and then you can...
I can reply and then she can reply to that.
Yes.
That's a good idea, Mike. That's
Right.
excellent. Go to my website, elainegiles.co.uk. You will see, /contact, I think. There's a link to the contacts page. Mike will sort it out.
Yeah.
Mike will give you the link.
I just put it in there, Daniela.
Just put your name, put your email address, and in the message, reply so I can send you this thing. And I will do. Do you know, we had somebody do that last week when they wanted something. One of the secrets guides. And do you know, I did it within 10 minutes of finishing, which is not like me, is it? No. They fester for weeks because there's so many requests. But I was there. I was on the ball. Excellent. That's come through as a link, Mike. I'm assuming if you copy that, it'll work. The Elaine Giles is lit up. I thought you had to put an at in for it to
Probably need to put the HTTP.
Oh, she said it's about 50 meg. Well, don't worry about that. I'll give you a link. I can get a link from either pCloud or Dropbox, which will let you upload it. All secure and whatever. So we'll sort it out. Definitely, we can sort it out. Jamie says, I connect my MacBook Pro 16-inch M1 Max to a 34-inch Samsung Ultrawide. For some reason, when I put it to sleep, it will never remember the resolution settings, and it swaps the monitor positions around. Any fix? Try Resolutionator. Resolutionator enables, I use it so I can set monitors to resolutions that they don't officially support. So I have two 27-inch monitors either side of my iMac, and their maximum res is supposed to be, I think it's 1920 by 1080, which isn't going to work. So I set them so they're the same as the iMac with this app. This app is something like $3. It's amazing. So try Resolutionator. What should happen with that is that it should take care of the settings, and when you reboot, it loads it in from Resolutionator. I too had the problem of them switching around. As far as I'm aware, there is no fix for that, which was a pain, wasn't it, when it decided to flip the PowerPoint thing. The only thing I did to deal with that was unplug one of the monitors and then plug it back in again after the first one was all right. So the main iMac was okay, the first external monitor was okay, and then on the other one, I plugged that in last and then it became number 3. It's an absolute pain. They don't give you enough control. But to be honest, they're taking away control. They're not going to give you any more control. They're just going to take it away.
Paul says, will Moom help for monitor positions as well?
Moom might do. Moom is to do with moving the windows on a monitor rather than actually managing the monitor, but they're both from the same company. So Resolutionator and Moom certainly work well together. There's many others that people recommend, like Magnet. I think Magnet is in Setup. So if you've already got Setup, Magnet does what Moom does. I use Moom. Having said that, if you want something that's totally free, you could try Raycast, which also enables you to place interfaces of apps in certain places, and that is completely free. I am still fighting with Raycast over other things, but it is completely free. Whereas with Alfred, while Alfred is completely free, the workflows aren't. So with Raycast, the workflows are free. They don't call them workflows. I think, are they extensions, add-ins, plugins, whatever they're called, they're totally free. Now, I was testing this. It didn't end well, unfortunately, but I was testing it because I was looking for an extension for Alfred that let me append text to a markdown file in Obsidian. And it worked fabulously. It was working brilliantly. The only problem was you had to tell it where the file was. And the file is going to move every month. So the file is in the January folder in January, but I started in December. So when it came to January, I could not find a way to tell this extension to move the thing, basically. So I uninstalled it, reinstalled it, told it it was January, not December, and that worked for 5 minutes. But now when I uninstall it and reinstall it, it's not prompting me. So I thought, right, we'll give Raycast a go. So Raycast will do it. It works fabulously. The only problem is it brings Obsidian to the front when it does it, which if I wanted to do that, I'd type straight into Obsidian. I wanted it to happen behind the scenes and just append to today's daily page. It's not working. There was something else that wasn't working last night and I had to give up on it and I was really peeved. I made a Keyboard Maestro macro to, what was that for? Oh, that was to take the URL of the current window in Vivaldi, to take the title of it and to create a markdown link from it. Oh, I was so happy. Then I thought, right, I just need, well, maybe that could do it then. So I got this appending to this and I built the path up and at the end of it didn't work. It was one of those situations where I'm like, just another go, just another go. And I have to stop myself because that way nothing gets done. So I will at some point return to that and try and make it do it, unless I can get Raycast working. So those are things I'll be looking at this week. What else have we got in here?
Dale had a scare from Publisher 2 the other day. Went to type a heading 1, centered, and it went all caps, and backspace kept adding spaces.
Oh, I've had that. Not backspace adding spaces, the arrow keys adding spaces. You're pressing the arrow keys to move back through your text, and it's just space, 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 space. It stops if you save the file and reboot. I've got no idea why. It was doing that as soon as I got it. And I'm like, this is broken. And then I decided what I would do with it. I closed the app down, opened the app up again. It was absolutely fine. And I'm trying to work out at what point, what was it I did between it, the arrow keys working properly and not. And I cannot figure it out. But yeah, it seems to have a bit of a thing with text frames when you're using keys that aren't actually, the A to Z keys or numbers. If you're using the backspace, the forward delete, the arrow keys, it just goes mad. And I don't know why. I'm sure there'll be an update after everybody's complaining. I'm sure there will, so shortly. That'll fix it. But it is very annoying. I must admit, I tend to create the text outside of Publisher and then just take the text in. What would be fabulous is an affinity in Copy. InCopy is an app from Adobe that's a complementary app to InDesign. And the idea is, InDesign's quite expensive, as we all know, because it's subscription. But even before it was subscription, back then it was even more expensive if all somebody was doing with it was typing copy into it. They're not doing layouts, they're not handling the graphics, they're not the final producers of this stuff. What they are doing is just writing copy. So InCopy is like a text editor that enables you to format it with the correct styles while you're working on just the copy. And then you push a button and it inserts it into InDesign. Oh, I want that for Publisher. I want it. But it's not there yet. I don't know whether we will ever see that, but it would be nice to think that we might. What else have we got, Mike?
Have you ever done a tutorial on Hookmark?
No, I didn't. Because at the very beginning that came out, I was about to, and then they put silly prices on a subscription for it. So I didn't bother with that. I may do one day. Who knows?
Jammy says, do Resolutionator do many paid updates?
I haven't paid an update on it since I bought it. But like I said, it's literally pennies. And I think they said on it was purely to cover the admin of the company, the payment handling company. They're not out to make money out of Resolutionator, that's for sure. I've always found that absolutely brilliant because I had the problems that you had. If you turn the machine off, you turned it back on, it was like, where's PowerPoint gone? PowerPoint puts the slide on one screen and the presenter view on another. If you have 3 monitors, it leaves the third one blank. But it would make absolutely no sense for the third blank one to be on my left because that's where the microphone is. And that's where I'm speaking. So I can't have my head looking to the right while the microphone is on the left. If I did that, it would sound like this. Now I'm looking to the right and speaking. And it doesn't sound right, does it? So do you remember when it did that? And I said to you, the only way is to physically move the monitors. But physically moving the monitors might sound easy, but you can't unplug them while you're doing it. Because if you do, it might reset itself. So you could be sitting there moving them all day. So in the end, I decided I would put a mirror in place or something. It was ridiculous, the workaround. Then the machine crashed and I had to restart it and do the old PRAM reset. And when I did, the monitor switched back again. And it was like, do you know what? This is my new mantra, this, Mike. If it's broken, leave it for a day and see if it's still broken. If it is, try and fix it. But if not, 9 times out of 10, it's not broken anymore. There's an update that I need to apply to my iMac, and I've tried to do it about 7 times, and it just dies at the end. It gets to a point where it's downloaded it all, so it's downloaded about 3 or 4 gig. It's strutted its stuff and checked it and unpacked it and stuff, and then it says, can't do this. Normally, I would be out of my tree. I just thought, oh, right, try again tomorrow then, and left it. It's my new look after my soul approach. Don't get giddy with it. Same happened with the watch. There was an update available for the watch, which was fine. Tried to download it and install it, wouldn't have it. So I thought, I'll leave it till tomorrow. I tried the next day, it was fine. It's really helping. I'm not getting it half as upset. Because I would just I would just keep trying and trying and trying, and it still wouldn't work. But now I'm much calmer. So we got anything else?
Daniela uses an app called WordAir for free. She writes text there and copies and pastes it to pages with the text styles, etc.
That might work. I think the issue in Publisher is what it did with the styles, which is why InDesign, while you could write the InDesign copy in a text editor, you wouldn't be able to apply the styles unless it interpreted Markdown. And neither of them interpret Markdown at the moment, which is getting to be a major pain because most of my stuff is written in Markdown. I'm writing in Markdown even as in a text editor because I know if I take it out of there and I put it in Obsidian, it'll interpret it correctly. If I put it into drafts, it will interpret it correctly. Ulysses will interpret it correctly. And now Mars Edit reads it correctly. So they really are a little bit behind the times there. It'd be nice if they could put in the basics of Markdown, but then extend it, which you can do because Ulysses have extended it. Their Markdown is Markdown XL. So it's the same Markdown. It's just extended. So if you have text in Obsidian and you want it in Ulysses, it will completely understand it. You just say paste from Markdown and it does, and it's fine. So something like that would be fabulous, but we're not there yet. If they could extend it to allow the styles to be applied, that'd be great. The other approach is to put it in Word and take it in from there, but I don't recommend that unless you've got no other option, because the mess that the styles are means you've basically got to restyle it, or at least reorganize the style tree. The text may look correct, but you will end up with double and triple styles in there, and you don't know what the implications would be of the hierarchy of the styles. So, if you're just taking it in and it's laying it out and it looks perfect, then fine, leave it alone. Don't touch it. But if there's like one tweak, you'll find if you change the style, the knock-on ramifications are such that everything can move. It really is a pain, but that's where we're at.
Jamie says, any benefits or drawbacks for getting Moom directly or from the App Store?
Isn't the version in the App Store deprecated, or is it me? Let me have a look. Let me have a look at Moom. See what version I've got. See which version is in the App Store. It was in the App Store, and I think at one point I might have bought it from there. Let's have a look what the version number is. Updated 6 months ago. Right, let's have a look what my version of Moom is. And mine is 3.2.25. Nope, they're exactly the same versions. Well, I guess the version from the App Store, you would automatically be able to install it on as many machines as you've got, but I do believe that is their licensing policy anyway. And one of the issues with getting it from the App Store is if in the future Apple decide that how they're doing something, so they have to hook in to the system to display things from the buttons. So if I show you, let's get up there. That'll do. Let's do this. iMac and share it with you. Right, this is Vivaldi, and up here, if I hover over that, why are you not showing me Moom? Crying out loud. Let's try this one, shall we? That's Moom. So to do that, where you're hovering over a button that belongs to Apple, and then show these. So I have this that takes it to fill the screen. I have that one that puts it on the left. I have that one that puts it on the right. And I have two more that puts it in the top half or the bottom half. The power of Moom, as far as I'm concerned, is not necessarily just doing that. It's the fact that I can go full screen, I can go to the left, I can go to the right, I can go up, and I can go down with shortcut keys. So when I'm working, let's say that screen that we're looking at, right, was on the right monitor. So I've literally just moved it to the right monitor. And I now need to minimize that because I don't need it anymore. This is what would happen if I minimized it. You would see that shoot across the screen because my dock is on the left. That's annoying. So if we bring that back, it shoots back the other way and it restores itself to the right-hand monitor. But I have a shortcut key in Moom that will take this to the left, And when I do exactly the same shortcut key, it takes it to the right, and again, it puts it in the middle. So no matter where I have windows on the screen, I can move them from the right screen to the left and the left to the right without going across the middle. Given what I do, it's my day job, that is important. The number of times I see people present and it's like, oh, just a minute. Oh, where's my slides? Just a minute. Hang on. Oh, where's that come from? It needs to be seamless. Now, you might think, well, hang on. You're in Zoom. Just share the window. Yeah, if I'm sharing something like Affinity Publisher and I'm sharing the window, they don't see the dialog boxes. Useless. Absolutely useless. So many years ago, I said to Mike, you just need to get used to sharing your screen. You need not to worry about, make sure you've got nothing private on there. So my 1Password is never even open. And anything else, if you don't want, from a kind of aesthetic point, you don't want to see something fly across from the right to the left or the left to the right, take it round the other way. Just get used to using those shortcut keys. Now, the shortcut keys would stay the same, whether it was Moom, whether it was Magnet, whether it was Raycast, it wouldn't matter. I would just take the same shortcut keys and do that. So my Moom stuff is in here. There's a lot of this I don't use. So am I using the mouse stuff? No. Am I using the snap to edges? No. I'm not even using the shortcut key to trigger the thing. All my stuff is custom. So the top one is Control and F, which I've installed on Mike's machine because otherwise bad words are said when I try and use it. So I've got Control and F, I've got Move and Zoom to the left, to the right. The next one is in the middle, use that a lot. This one is like the 3/4 view, and then I've got Move to the top half, the bottom half, Revert to the original dimensions. So if I were to take this one and make it half the screen width in the middle, I could either Control and F to take it back to what it was, but let's say it was something unique like that, and I took it full screen. If I then do the revert option, it should take that back to what it was, and I don't know why that doesn't look like it's working. Let's have a look. I see. Right, let's try that. So let's take it up to there and do that. Yeah, that is working. What else have we got? Where's Moom gone? Move to the other display. So mine, I've got this set twice. So if you look at these two, these are the two that are making it. I can move things to the left. I can move things to the right. But the option to loop through the displays means that if I'm moving to the right, when I get to the last monitor on the right, if I use the same shortcut key, it will loop through and take it to what is in effect the left. So I have two shortcut keys for that. One to move it to the right, one to move it to the left, but they both loop through the displays. And what else have I got? I have one that centers stuff. So this window here, if we use Control and Q, it puts it in the center, but slightly higher. It's not the middle. That is this. There's actually the screen center, which is there, but I have it a little higher, which is what macOS considers to be the center. Then I've got this little window, which is for when I'm publishing a MacBites, and I've got this one and this one for when I'm working in Obsidian. So if I'm taking notes in my browser, it'll be this one, which is Control and the number 4. And this one I'll put, so my browser is on the left and Obsidian is on the right where I'm taking notes. So I have those two set up as well, and this one for the middle, and I've no idea why. Do not ask me why that's there. I have no idea. I probably set it up for a reason and I've never used it since. But it wouldn't matter to me what app I used for this. I've used Moom for years and years and years. And it's always been reliable, so I've stuck with it. But all of the stuff that I do with it is shortcut keys to make a window the size I want to make it. And you saw me just, I can take any window like this one, and I can make it centered. I can make it on the left. I can make it on the right. I can make it on the bottom. I could put it in the middle. I could put it in the middle there. I could take it full screen. If I put it in the middle like that, I can move it right and left from there. And it's all shortcut keys. The whole thing is shortcut keys. But I appreciate, my use of shortcut keys. Other people don't particularly like shortcut keys like I do. But I have hundreds of them and hundreds of them. And when I get onto Mike's machine, because he needs me to do something, and I press a key and it doesn't work, it's like, why have you not updated this app? Why have you not got this app configured? And it's like an inquisition, isn't it, Mike? But that's what I do with it. So hopefully that would help. As from App Store or from them, I would go direct to them because it's hooking into the system. Apple could just suddenly decide that they're not going to let third-party developers do that in an app in the App Store. It can work outside the App Store, but it can't work inside the App Store. That has happened with half a dozen apps that I've used. So depending on what the app is, I wouldn't do that. One of the ones it happened to was Which, so I don't think Which is in there anymore. I think they had to take it out. Let's go via the menu tricks. Let's see what's in there. Yep, there's no Which in there. So some of the stuff they've got, like Name Mangler and all these other apps, Desktop Curtain, they're in there, but Which isn't. It was, but Apple then decided it needed too much access to the system and booted it out. So I'm thinking Moom down the line. Can't say it will happen, but I wouldn't rule it out either. So I get it direct, but your mileage may vary. Right, what else have we got? Or is that it?
Daniela says, what is Markdown?
Markdown is text. It's a plain text format that apps can interpret. So we could look at Markdown if you wanted to. Let me think what uses Markdown that we could have a look at. Let's have a look in there. Right, let's bring that on. Lose that lot, load of icons, and get back to my desktop. Why are you twanging? Don't twang. Right, let's go back there. This is a window on drafts. And all I would do with it is, let's say I'm making some notes. So I put in a hash and a space. And then I put, this is the primary heading. And the hash has the impact of changing the font so it looks like a heading. If I then put the first line of notes, that's plain text. Now I'm going to start talking about something within an app. So I want a level 2 heading. So just like in Word, you've got a heading 1, a heading 2 and a heading 3. Right, 2 hashes and a space is heading 2. So that is heading 2. This is more paragraph text. So it doesn't have anything at the beginning of it. If I wanted to put in there a quote, so quote from probably Steve Jobs, knowing me, I would put that in to look like that. Move down that if I wanted a bulleted list. Item 1, item 2. Why am I putting that in at the end? That's not necessary. And item 3. If I want to put in a numbered list, I start with the first number. Item 1 again. It automatically puts 2 in. And I put 2 and I put 3. There's lots of other stuff like that. So for instance, if I wanted to put a tweet, you want to put a link in to my Twitter notifications. So that's just because it's open. So there's a link. In there, if I copy that, I can go in here and I want it to be a link. So I can put in there, multi-markdown, URL. It puts the URL in, it moves my cursor back to the square brackets, and I can put in what that is. My Twitter notifications, which doesn't have a P in it. Right? I was saying to you that I'd made a thing. So let's go to my Twitter home feed in here. Let's go there. So this is Twitter home. So I'm not touching that browser. All right, the browser is at the front, if you will, but I'm not going to go in there and capture anything. I'm going to use the shortcut key. I'm going to go in here. I'm going to multi-markdown URL. In fact, I don't even have to do that, do I? No, I don't. I just have to press paste because I've written some code that takes the name of the page, it takes the URL, and it turns it into a markdown link for me. And this is why I can fly around Ulysses. But I'm loath to recommend Ulysses if you're not prepared to look at your workflow and see how you can make it work best for you. It's not an app like Evernote where you open it and everybody does the same thing. Ulysses, what am I saying? Obsidian is like, there's the basics and then there's stuff that you can make it do. But you have to decide what is important for you. So some people have installed like project extensions and all kinds of stuff. I haven't. But I do have a Kanban board. So it really is, as somebody explained Linux to me once, Linux is fantastic by comparison to Windows, but bring your own socket set because you're going to have to work. But it's incredibly customizable. Now, what I've just done there with Markdown, that's as difficult as Markdown gets. It really is. Now, in Obsidian, if I take an image, so say I've got an image somewhere. Let me take a screenshot of that. So I'm going to take a screenshot. It's taken a screenshot. It has uploaded it automatically to Cloud App. And if I were to go into Obsidian, which I won't open because it's got all kinds of stuff in it, but if I were to now go in Obsidian and just put an exclamation mark at the beginning, and then URL, that it has inserted is my graphic. So I can put my screen cap. And that will show that screen cap in Obsidian. I just needed one shortcut. That was it. So, but there's work that goes into making it work. But everybody should understand Markdown because it's in so many places now. How are you doing with your Markdown?
Fine.
You said you needed to learn more about it.
I can do heading 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and bulleted points.
How are you with links? Need a little practice by the sound of it. It's the gap between me saying something and you replying that gives you away. But it's not difficult. It's not difficult. It's just plain text. I think we're going to have to put a Ulysses session on, aren't we? I wonder how that will go with everybody.
Somebody asked about that.
I have had people, I mean, there was one guy asked, what, a year ago? And at the time I was using Rome and I said, you know, I didn't think it was a wise idea.
Did you say Ulysses?
Do I keep saying Ulysses?
Yes.
I mean Obsidian and Rome.
Somebody asked about Ulysses.
Leave Ulysses alone. That's an entirely different business. No, at the time I was using Rome. And I thought, well, I've got the basics of what Obsidian does, but you really need to be like deep into one app. And I tested Obsidian about 20 months ago. And the problem was it wasn't quite WYSIWYG. It wasn't quite what you saw was what you got. Unfortunately, you had to switch modes. And I didn't want to switch modes with it. It also wasn't an outliner. And I was used to Rome being an outliner. Last January, Notion had that many outages, I couldn't work. So I said to Mike, I'm going to have something that is local. You know, I don't want to be relying on Rome either because that was in a browser. So I said, I'm going to have something that's local. I ruled out everything apart from Obsidian because Drafts is in iCloud and Ulysses is in iCloud. And I said, no, nothing that's in the cloud. It needs to be local. So I tried Obsidian for 2 weeks and I said to Mike, I'm going to run a Build a Second Brain cohort through it and see how I go. And I never looked back. To me, it was like Rome Research with bells on. Now, it isn't an outliner, but the outline features work. Everything that I learned in Rome is literally just transferable. It's totally free. I pay for the sync, but I pay for the sync because iCloud and I don't agree on the sync. You can synchronize it with iCloud, and we had that working for about 2 or 3 weeks, didn't we? And at that point, it was like, iCloud's having a moment and my Obsidian isn't syncing. I can't work like that. So I pay them for the sync, but what we do to make it more cost effective is you can synchronize, I think it's either 5 or 6 volts. I think it's 5. But they don't all have to be yours. So I share my sync with Mike. So he got to shift his from Dropbox. Dropbox is great for sync, as long as you're only syncing to desktops. But if you want to sync to mobile devices, it's iCloud or a paid service. So we decided, I haven't got time for this. I just want it to work. So I paid for the sync, but you don't need to. So now I'm using it. Yeah, I'm quite happy to demonstrate Ulysses if that's what you want. Let me know if that's what you want.
Obsidian.
Oh, God, I said it again, didn't I? Obsidian. Okay, let's have a new drinking game. It's a good job Mike's here. It's Obsidian I'm talking about demonstrating. Okay, let's get that right. It's Obsidian I'm talking about. Oh, if the right knew what
Jamie
the left
wants
was
a
doing.
Ulysses session.
Oh, no. No, I did.
And a Ulysses session.
I did do a Ulysses session, didn't I? Did I?
No, he wants an Obsidian session and a Ulysses session.
Right. Ulysses, because obviously I'm using these. This is not... I'm using these. Right. Obsidian is where my notes are. It's where my thinking happens. It's where the rough work happens. So if you ever went to a school and had a rough book, which we did, it was made out of like the stuff that they make toilet paper out of. Do you remember it? Don't use a fountain pen on it. The ink just ran. It was crazy. Right. It's a rough book. It's literally capture everything, which is why I have these things in place where I can just take a screen cap, upload it, paste, I'm done. Because I haven't got time to stop and think. It has to, quick is where I am with Obsidian. Ulysses is where blog posts go to get posted, because I cannot be doing with the back end of WordPress. You know, you want to log in. Oh, fair enough. I'm two-factoring it. Yeah, I haven't got all day. I want to post a blog post. So Ulysses lets me do that. So in Ulysses, you'll find all the blog posts that I post myself, all the MacBites blog posts, everything's in there. That's what goes on in Ulysses. What else?
Now he's saying you'll forego Ulysses because he can't justify the subscription.
No, see, I'm grandfathered on a cheaper rate. Mike pays about twice what I do. Yeah, Ulysses is subscription. You don't want that. You could recreate virtually everything Ulysses does in Obsidian. The only thing that you wouldn't be able to replicate is the publishing feature yet. But there may be an extension for that. Who knows? And the other thing you can do, because WordPress, if publishing blog post is your thing, and that's what you would be doing with Ulysses, what you could do is you could use any Markdown editor, Obsidian included, copy it, paste it into the back end of WordPress, press publish, because it understands Markdown. So Markdown's actually quite a young language, but it's become pervasive. So if you can write in Markdown, you can use any one of about 50 apps. And you can transfer things around between it. I did have a friend who said they weren't using Obsidian. They'd tried it, but they weren't using it because they found it difficult to transfer their notes into something else and it looked right. And I thought, well, I'm not arguing with you, but heaven knows where you're trying to take it, because I have no problem getting stuff out of Obsidian, do you? It's just text. Just copy it and paste it. I think it even worked. Well, I know Google Docs understands Markdown, and I think Word does, doesn't it? Give it a go, Mike. Let's see if we can break it.
What, go into Word and put some Markdown?
Yeah, just take some Markdown out of Obsidian and see what Word makes of it.
I just type it.
Well, you could do, but that wouldn't necessarily prove the point, would it? But do try it.
Oh, it doesn't treat that as a heading.
No, it won't treat it as a heading one. That's why I was thinking, is there a paste from Markdown involved?
Go into Markdown.
But you see, Ulysses is useful for me because Ulysses is the only way I found to take something from, say, Obsidian in Markdown, copy it, but in Ulysses, instead of just copying it, you say copy it as rich text.
No,
and then
it just treats it as text.
Then I can paste it into, where was I going with that? Scrivener. I can just paste it into Scrivener because Scrivener doesn't necessarily understand Markdown either. But Markdown is a really good, if you had to learn one thing, learn Markdown. Because honestly, it would take you no more than half an hour. I could do a session on that before we did the Obsidian one. Let me know. Right, what else have we got? Or is that it?
That's it.
Okay, wow. Lots and lots of chat. Oh, Jamie loves Scrivener. Well, I use Scrivener. I use Scrivener for the newsletters. Something that's like a round tripping of data would involve Mike. Have we got one from last week that I could share with you? Let's have a look. Do we have the show from last week? And if we have, I will share it with you. So there's this week. Where's last week? That is definitely showing and doing weird things. It's doing weird things, but never mind. Right, last week's 175, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Let's have a look. Yes, let's show you a finished thing. Right. Okay, what we're looking at there is last week's show. So I've got some follow-up here's about Vectornator and Amadine. I've got all the stuff that happened pre-show. That's the stuff that happened at showtime. And I also have all the wrap-up stuff that happened there as well. I did actually do this, unbelievably, just didn't tick the box. Right, when you look down here, these are my links to YouTube. So I need to go to the live events, or I need to go to the control room, or the after hours playlist. I hardly ever need to do that. This is the YouTube block that is just copy-paste. But this is the timings. This is the tricky one. These are the timings. If I want to put those timings underneath the video on YouTube, copy, go to YouTube, paste, done. That does not get them in the newsletter because this is just plain text. So YouTube interprets it and makes them links. Your email doesn't. Scrivener won't make those links. So we have a Google spreadsheet. We go to the Google spreadsheet, we copy the timings and we copy the titles and they go in the Google sheet, which I did show you last week, I think. So let's head off into there and look for 175. There is 175. So that's the show link. These are the timings. That's the text. And I put in a description. And then I copy that. Well, in this case, 5 cells. Sometimes there's more than that. So if you look at all of these, that's what you've got in every one. You copy that. You paste that into there. At this point, it's still text, but you can see there's a link there. If I copy that and then go to Ulysses and say paste from Markdown, it does exactly that. And then copy as rich text and I paste it into Scrivener and everything is clickable. So it's a round tripping that I can't do any other way, but literally the text goes in Ulysses and out of Ulysses on the other side, because Ulysses is the only app that gives me those options to copy from one format and paste into another format, which is brilliant, which is the kind of thing that I do, which is how come we get away with all of this. Mike only needs to put that in there once. I take it and put it in the spreadsheet, which generates this format, and then from there it's simple, copy, and then paste wherever it needs to go in. That is actually Markdown as well. So in Ulysses, I would paste it in to the blog post as well, and then put dashes at the front of it. This is a workflow you probably need to see, but that's what I do with it. Okay. Are we done?
I think so.
Am I tempting Jammy to spend money again? The reason I have half the apps on my Mac, Scrivener chief among them. Well, what do you want to do with Scrivener? You need to write something. How about you write your impressions of what you learn when you're doing your MacBites after hours marathon and tweet them out or something? That'd be grand. You could take there's an image up there for each show. Take the image, put what you learnt from it, and bang the image on at me, and then I can redo you. Yeah, and put a like on it as well. And don't forget, I am tweeting this week, so don't forget to put a like on it. Right, okay, then I think we are done as we head to midnight, precariously close to midnight. So, didn't we have one mince pie left?
Each?
Yes. One each. Right, there you go. That's no Yule log, obviously. But we've got one mince pie left to have, so we'll head off and have something to eat, and the something to eat will be a mince pie. So hope you enjoyed it. For the moment, going to say good night from me.
And good night from me.
And we'll both see you next time. Stay safe, guys.